It's Halloween.
Let me out! Please!
You know what that means.
I need to stop all this horror before it happens.
Old Sawtooth Jack is gonna rise from the cornfields.
Have you seen the movie Back to the Future? Basically, I'm living that movie right now.
This all-new wild horror adventure.
It's gotta be stopped.
Your friends were murdered 35 years ago.
Your sacred duty is to take down Sawtooth Jack before that church bell rings at midnight.
It's not 1987 anymore.
Kill or be killed.
It's been 3 years since Michelle survived a night of terror.
If that thing isn't dead by midnight, this whole town is going straight to hell.
A few uninvited trick-or-treaters have some plans of their own.
Maybe if she did do blowjobs, she'd still be alive.
Yes, y'all, it's going down right now. Episode 242 of the Triple Shots of Moods and Horror podcast is coming at you live and direct with the homie, JP, also known as the Mexicant. And we got Mr. Saucedo back in the house, also known as Freeman Park Dukes. Yeah, and I'll be your host, the MOOD to the Z, representing PGBC. Yeah. What's going on, guys?
Yo, what's up?
What's with the delayed response? Were you trying to absorb that? Because it was.
I was trying to absorb it, and there's a fight happening.
Oh,
A fight? Okay.
Off the start here, I'm going to apologize for my froggy sounding voice. I've been sick for the last few days, so I might have to mute it a few times to get some coughs out and whatnot. But yes, if I sound funny, it's because I got a cold. It's not COVID. I literally have a cold, which is the first one I've had in years. Like, I never get sick, but it's explainable because so my job, it involves taking cabs a lot. And so I finished my route the other day and I jumped into this cab, and the cab driver, he turns around and he goes, "Where to?" And I'm like, "Oh, just back to the depot, man." And he turns, as he was saying that to me, he fucking coughs. And I'm like, "Oh, that's great." It was like right in my face. And so all the way back to the depot, this guy's fucking hacking up a lung in the front seat, not covering his mouth. Windows are up. And I'm like, "Oh, fucking great." I'm thinking to myself, I'm totally going to get sick. Sure as shit. Later on that night, my throat started getting sore. I'm like, "Oh, fuck." I woke up at like 4:30 in the morning. My throat was like totally sore. I'm like, "You got to be fucking kidding me, man." Like, I swear to God, that was literally the moment. It had to have been when I got sick. I'm like, this guy fucking spread his filthy fucking cabbie germs on my face and got me sick. I was pissed, man, because like the next day at work, I didn't feel great. And Friday was even worse, but I just took it easy. I still got my route done in like 3 hours, but yeah, I was like, my God, like, ugh, I haven't been sick in a while. So I was like, thank God it was just like one of those sicknesses where it was just kind of like congestion and a little bit of cough and shit. You know, like when you get a cold, sometimes everything aches and you're like fucking shitting and luckily I didn't have that type of sickness because there's no way I could do my job if I was puking out my butt. So, but yeah, so I'm doing a little better. Actually, today I feel better than I did yesterday, but the voice is still a little bit fuckery. So anyways, yeah, little explanation. But anyways, episode 242, it's an official Halloween show. Like originally we weren't even going to record this show because we weren't sure if we were going to be able to record this weekend because I was supposed to be out of town this weekend. The kids got a hockey tournament, but the wife decided to take them alone for a couple reasons. Actually, she's like, "You know what? I said to her, I'm like, man, I think I'm getting sick. And she's like, "Man, you should probably stay home and shit." Because I didn't want to get the kids sick and stuff, and probably worked out a lot better. But she also like unselfishly was like, "Well, you guys are just back doing the show and stuff. You guys need to get into a rhythm. You should stay home and do it anyways." And I was like, "Fuck."
Oh, that's awesome.
That's a wife for you right there. So it kind of worked out that it kind of gave me that excuse to stay home too, because I really didn't want to get the kids sick. But they're actually playing in their gold medal game as we're recording right now. And
awesome.
They're up 9-2.
The nail biter.
And this kid is, oh yeah. So this tournament, man, I don't know what happened, but so they played 3 games yesterday. They won 18-0. The kid scored a hat trick.
How does that even happen? It means nothing.
I know. I don't no idea. But they have this rule called the Wayne Gretzky rule. So if a kid scores 3 goals in a game, he's not allowed to score anymore. But they actually, so they fucked up, and my kid had scored 3 goals, and they forgot that he had a hat trick, whatever. So he ended up scoring again. He got 4 goals, and so he ended up scoring 4 in that game. They won the next game like 5-2, and then the last one like 9-2 or something like that. But so yeah, they're up in this one 9-2 in the gold medal game. He's got a couple goals. Kid's killing it. It's doing good.
Awesome, dude. That's great.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So
3 goals seems like insultingly low to call it the Gretzky rule.
Yeah, I think it's because some teams, like at that age, they have really dominant kids and they'll just go out there and score 15 goals. So they try to cut it off. They make them pass the puck and stuff, which makes complete sense. And the funny thing is, Troy's like, he plays on the top line, but the kids that he plays with they're like the stars of the team. Right. So you just imagine.
Oh,
right?
yeah. I've been that kind of team.
Right.
Yeah. Like sometimes when you're, especially like if you're young, I actually like when I was 8 years old, I played with Frank Vetrano from the Anaheim Ducks, who's lighting it up this year. And that dude would score like 5 goals a game. And he was 2 years younger than us. That was when he was like 6.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, Halloween show. So anyways, I was getting back to that. So originally we weren't even going to record the show. We were actually just going to kind of treat the Tim Burton show as the Halloween show because it had Sleepy Hollow on there. And a lot of people associate that film with Halloween, even though it has like one fucking scene in the film with a pumpkin, which is like a comical scine. It's like a
so
joke.
Like shoehorned in too. It's not even like a real scene.
No, it's literally a joke. It's a fucking joke in the movie. I've never fully understood the whole Sleepy Hollow Halloween. I don't know. It is what it just
got those like spooky Halloween like aesthetic vibes.
I guess so. So
and I think also the Disney one, the Ichabod and Mr. Toad or whatever, that one's set on Halloween.
Right.
So I think
that makes sense. Yeah, I saw a couple of people mention that. I never even heard of it.
Right. Yeah, I saw that mentioned too. That's right. So if we weren't going to record the show, we were going to treat that as a Halloween show. But then this happened. I'm in town. We decided to put the show together. And it's kind of an odd one because we usually do a Halloween show every year. Most of the movies are like retro Halloween films.
Well, usually it's listeners choose them.
Yeah, listeners.
This is like the first time we haven't done that since like the Night of the Demons franchise, I think.
Right. It's funny, actually. Speaking of Night of the Demons franchise, someone commented on the video yesterday and said, "Oh, thanks for the awesome show, blah, blah, blah." And I commented back and I said, "You know what's funny about that?" And I was like, JP thinks this is like the worst show we ever did.
Yeah, I just remember it just being messy. And
no, I think what happened and I was thinking back on, like, I can't quite remember it. I think it's because we were all scrapping, like me and Jeremy were fighting and we were fighting about stupid shit. And we were all arguing like before the show and then during the show. And I remember we had to pause a couple times because people were getting pissed off. It was just one of those messy recordings that like we hated life at the time. So I don't know. I don't think overall the show is like probably not the worst thing in the world, but I think me and you are like totally polar opposites on the remake because I still to this day hate that fucking remake. It sucks.
Yeah.
I think it's junk, but yeah, someone had commented on that video, but yeah, it was kind of interesting. But anyways, going back to this show, I thought it was kind of interesting because it's 3 modern movies and we generally don't review a lot of modern films and
anymore. We used to a lot more. Now we don't as much.
Yeah, we would do them periodically. But this show happened to be 3 films basically from this year. One from 2022, which is the sequel to The Barn, which we've reviewed on a Halloween show, I believe, before. Was it last year? A couple years ago?
It was like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, something like that. So we had to do The Barn Part 2, and then we got the brand new one, Dark Harvest, which has the lamest title ever because there's like a whole franchise called Dark Harvest, which I believe is like the Killer Scarecrow trilogy.
Those movies suck.
And then there's one from the 1992 year, I believe, called Dark Harvest. So
I think we've also reviewed.
Yeah, I think we have. And it's so unoriginal. There's
one that like IFC Midnight put out, not that like a couple years, maybe like 10 years.
Yeah, there's another. Yeah, you're right. There's one that they put out too.
There you go. It's just, it seems like every single year there's always one movie that has that like that total Google fuckery title where you type it in and like a million things come up. It's like this year's Dark Harvest. It's like, which one am I looking for? And of course, we're doing Totally Killer from this year also, which is set on Halloween. So
the
cool.
Blumhouse movie.
Yeah, Blumhouse film. And yeah, very interesting. Yeah. So those are the 3 films that we're doing on this Halloween special. Halloween. Happy Halloween to everybody out there. It doesn't feel like it because I usually would have had, well, originally we had a Halloween party planned at our place for last night. But obviously, wife's out of town. We're actually going to do it next weekend. But it actually worked out really well because I was sick, and I probably would have canceled the party anyways because I was sick. Because really, I don't want to get other people sick. That's just fucking rude, right? You don't want to.
Yeah, unlike that filthy cab driver.
Exactly, it's fucking bullshit. So we're gonna do that next weekend. So it hasn't really felt like Halloween to me at all. But it is what it is. But Halloween. You guys watch any Halloween related films just for fun? Like, what are some of your guys' favorite Halloween watches? Or films that you like to watch around the holiday season? They don't have to be actually Halloween films.
Right.
Yeah.
The one, I mean, I've mentioned this before on the show, but like one of the ones I always try to get to is Graveyard Shift. Just always had that vibe for me, even though it's not fall or anything. Right. It just, I always associated it with like the October month.
Right.
People Under the Stairs and Tales from the Hood, I used to watch a lot. I watched both of those this year. I did make it through 7 of the Halloween films, the original 7 run.
Oh, you poor bastard.
I had those 4Ks that I think I ended on part 4 last year, but I just decided to go through all of them again. And then I had the new set that had the H2O, Halloween 6 and Resurrection. And so I opened that finally and I watched 6 and H2O. I didn't make it. I didn't have the courage to do Resurrection again. But I don't know. I might. And I watched Stephen King stuff usually hits for Halloween for me. Pet Sematary I watched last night. Pet Sematary 2 a couple nights ago. But yeah, pretty standard go for me.
Yeah. What about you, Ty?
The only movie like I absolutely like always have to watch every Halloween is Halloween 3. Like that's like a staple. But I kind of just like usually I hit a lot of the same ones. I kind of just try to take it as an opportunity to like watch just like some of my favorite horror movies, period.
Right.
Or like some I haven't watched in a long time. But like for the Halloween season, usually like the 2 days leading up to Halloween, I'll probably start tonight. I pretty much just marathon like movies like that. I usually try to revisit a couple older ones I haven't seen too much or it's been a while, but I always stick to like supernatural. Like I don't like watch like any like more of like the psychological horror movies or anything that's like not really like kind of like spooky around these days. I try to keep it like pure like that, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Like
the only one
too.
I've really watched this week, I threw in the new 4K of Rosemary's Baby and watched that and got that out of the way. But that's really all I've like done specifically to that so far.
I'm the same way with Halloween 3, man. It's like I watch it every year. It's an annual watch for me.
Yeah, like I pretty much always watch Halloween at some point, whether it's Halloween, whether it's near Halloween or some other time in the year.
Right.
But I think last year I got up to number 5, and I haven't watched like a lot of those like mid sequels like in a long time. So maybe like I'll try to get in like 6, 7, and 8 this year.
Right.
I haven't seen those in a long time.
Yeah, I avoid them like the plague.
I feel like they're fun like every once in a while though. You know what I mean? Like I definitely haven't seen H2O for like 10 years.
Yeah.
I actually like H2O a lot.
That's when people say they liked it. I remember really not liking it the last time I watched it, but
It's one of those movies. Every time I watch it, I'm like, I swear I like it less and less and less. It's like
that's how I
it's
feel like.
It feels like a Scream movie.
It does
more than a Halloween movie.
It does. It totally feels like a Scream movie.
But I think they handle the Jamie Lee Curtis, Michael Myers thing like way better than the new series did.
Oh, I would agree with that for sure.
Like the trauma aspect of it and stuff.
That's at least like a cool part of it, and it wasn't like
Yeah.
overtired in like 1998 like it kind of is now.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I actually threw on the original Chainsaw last night. I popped in the second sight 4K, a big fucking brick edition that they put out. Fuck, man. I was like, Jesus, dude. Like, I remember bringing this up before when Dark Sky Films put out the Blu-ray a few years back. And I was like, damn, dude, like TCM just looks too good. you know, like, and then you pop in this 4K and like, God damn it, dude, what the fuck? Like, this movie shouldn't look this good. It's just crazy. It looks really, really good. But man, Texas Chainsaw, like, it's not like a full on annual, but I really do like to watch it around the season for some reason. I watched Night of the Demons also on Friday, which is like an annual thing for me. I always watch Night of the Demons. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. You know, things like I'm actually, I watch a lot of Scooby-Doo around October. For some reason, I always associate Scooby-Doo, even like, you know, the TV series or like the movies and stuff like that with October. Yeah. Always have. Of course, Return of the Living Dead, I usually watch every year. Suspiria is one film that I always watch around this time of year for some reason. I just do it.
I usually do that too. I usually in October watch like all the Argento movies and watch some of the Fulci movies. Some of the Fulci movies. But I'm like, I'm just gonna kick that to next month and just like watch like all my favorite Italian movies. That like
I actually do that quite a bit. Like I'll watch like Argento and Fulci like right around Halloween, leading into Italian month. So it kind of like, you know,
like a
kind of laps over itself, but you know, in the right way. So that's kind of cool. But WNUF has turned into like almost like an annual watch for me too, man. I love that film. I still need to see the sequel, but the first one, man, I absolutely love that film, man. It's just it's so cool to show that to people for the first time and have them think it's fucking like real. It's crazy. I love that shit, man. But Dawn of the Dead, I usually end up watching around this time of year. It's my favorite movie of all time. Most people know that shit. Even like Night of the Living Dead. Like actually,
I watched Night of the Living Dead already. That's
a good Halloween
for
watch.
October. Yeah, Night of the Living Dead is like such a damn perfect like October watch.
It's one of my favorite things to do, man, is watch those like in sequence, man. I can watch all three of those movies back to back, like religiously. I could do that all the time, man. So fucking good. But
yeah, the trilogy is phenomenal.
Yeah. I still think it's like, it's almost like the horror genre is one of the biggest crimes in the horror genre world, in the realm of horror films, is that Romero never got a chance to do a zombie, like one of the Dead films in the 90s.
Yeah,
such a shame.
Land of the Dead was supposed to be that.
It was supposed to be. Yeah. I would have been just so curious to see how it would have turned out in the 90s, right? Because the 90s was just such an odd decade for horror.
I think it definitely would have been better, just for like the fact he was like 10 years younger.
Exactly.
Like, just coming off more of his successful films than like what he had like in
especially
the 90s.
If he had the money to do it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like if he picked up doing that after doing something like, you know, let's say he went like Monkey Shines and then he went the dark half, and then like in 91 he made another Dead movie. Like I think he just would have been like a way better rhythm than making like picking up 20 years later, 25 years later.
But who knows though, right? Because didn't Romero, like, after making those kind of studio films, like just have enough of fucking studios in Hollywood and shit like that, and he's like, fuck this. Like,
there wasn't really like
I don't think it would have been the best time for him to go kind of, because I feel like making another Dead film for him would have been more on like his level, you know, like more indie type shit. But like coming off the studio, like it left a big, you know, foul taste in his mouth, and he kind of said that's really why he didn't really do a lot in the 90s, right? Because he's kind of like, fuck this shit. But who knows how it would have turned out, because I know like he's expressed that those were like not the best times in his career. You know, I wouldn't say the movies are bad or anything. They're not my favorites from Romero either. But
I think
we did get the Night of the Living Dead remake in the 90s, which was, you know, I'm sure George had something to do with.
Yeah.
Well, he definitely greenlit it, because, you know, it's not like Tom Savini's, you know, just out of the fucking blue said, hey, I'm going to remake this film without talking to fucking George about it. He obviously got.
Oh, actually, George rewrote the screenplay.
Right. He did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And honestly, that movie, the more that I watch it, the more that I like it.
You know, it was funny too, because like I remember watching the remake of Night of the Living Dead when it first came out and being like, you know, I was younger, but I was familiar with the original film and stuff. And I was always so confused by, I was like, because back in those days, like I wasn't really overly familiar with watching too many remakes, you know what I mean? And I'm like, why the fuck is this movie like, it's like the other one, but I was being so confused about it and shit. And I never really cared for it growing up. And I never really appreciated the film until I was like in my 20s. So like in the 2000s and stuff like that. And I realized what, you know, Tom had done with it, and it's actually a pretty decent film. So
yeah, I watched it I think like 2 years ago for the first time in a long time, and I was like, man, I actually really like that movie.
Yeah.
I actually haven't seen it. That's probably one of my biggest blind spots.
Really?
You haven't seen the remake? Wow, crazy.
No, it's weird where when I was just like watching movies like repetitive, like now I'm very release driven, and like if something just pops in front of my face streaming, like as far as how I watch stuff, and for the longest time that just like didn't have a good release when I would have been like kind of watching the more classic films like that. And I also just like when I was real young and I would just watch stuff on my laptop like over and over and just pirate stuff all day, like I wasn't interested in it yet. So it's just kind of just been like a circumstance time where it just never lined up and like it never had a good release.
Yeah, because it was released by Twilight Time. And I think the transfer was even kind of bad, and it went out of print because they did their very limited releases. And then I think it got a Sony release a couple years ago that's relatively affordable now, I think.
Yeah, it got a Sony release. I have the Umbrella release. It's got both of them, like the original and the remake.
Oh, that's
I got
cool.
that like that double. It's cool. Separate disc and shit. And it's got that double artwork where you can flip the case, and it's not like the reversal. It's got artwork on both sides. Yeah. And the fucking transfer on that on both of them are phenomenal. Like really, really fucking good, man. I swear the best the original Night of the Living Dead has ever looked. I swear. From all the transfers I've seen on that, is there a 4K of the original?
Yeah, there is.
Criterion did, right?
Right.
Yeah,
so they did. That was a 4K. I couldn't remember if that was a 4K release. I haven't seen the
Criterion. That is though, I have the Criterion Blue, and I don't think that church is even like great. And I'm like the Criterion like fanboy here,
right?
So I didn't even upgrade. I didn't feel like it was even worth like upgrading to the 4K. There's just like way other films I'd rather upgrade to 4K from.
But I actually did hear, because I think the Umbrella release and they're different transfers. And I have heard from people that the Umbrella one is better. So I can't speak on it because I haven't seen the Criterion, but I will say from what I've seen, the Umbrella one is really good, and the remake looks phenomenal on Blu-ray. Like it's crazy.
Umbrella does good transfers.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah,
really
Umbrella does. Criterion does good work, but like even like I'll even say this like as my favorite label, like when it comes down to like just transfers, Criterion is like not even like top 3.
Yeah. Yeah, they do good features, but I don't think they're known for their transfers.
No, they do good work. Like it's not like they do bad transfers, but like I don't often see like a film like by Criterion where it just like wows me how it looks now. Like I will get one like that every so often, but I constantly get that feeling when I just watch some random movie from like Vinegar Syndrome, or when I see like some of the Arrow 4Ks, some of these movies I've seen 10 times.
Yeah. There's so many boutique labels now that are doing such good restorations that it's even hard to really
really miss.
It's kind of like it's like a personal preference thing. Like if you were to break down like what your favorite releases are, or like transfers, companies, whatever, but versus like the best and shit, like I guess it's how you see it though, right? Like literally. Yeah. So like I don't know how, like Vinegar Syndrome to me does some of the best restorations, because like some of the movies that they restore are just like huge turds, right? Like they shouldn't look that good. You know what I mean? Like they're restoring movies that just have no business looking the way they do.
Yeah.
So like for me in that aspect, and like some movies that I've seen that they, you know, from before and then they've released, I'm like, fuck man, like it literally blows my mind sometimes. Like Vinegar Syndrome, I feel like is so far ahead of the game in that aspect. It's crazy to me. But I mean, everyone, like all these companies do such good work. Like 88 does some really good work, you know, Umbrella.
And Blue Underground honestly does phenomenal transfers.
They do.
Everyone really kind of has their niche that like does different things. Like for like, I don't think Kino does like the best work transfer wise, but it's like it's still fine. But they're like way cheaper during their sales, and I feel
like with Kino, the reason why like their work is always good. It's like always like above average kind of thing, but it's never like mind blowing. It's because Kino has the biggest fucking catalog of shit. They put out so much stuff. Like they can't restore films like Synapse. Like Synapse will fucking take a year and a half on one film to restore. Like when they did Suspiria and shit. Like they literally go frame by, like they put so much effort. Like Synapse's transfers are phenomenal on everything they do. Like they put so much.
Suspiria 4K you're talking about is literally the best disc in my collection.
I know it looks.
I actually agree. I think when I think of like what my all-time like most blown away transfers are, it's probably Blue Underground's Zombie and then Synapse's Suspiria 4K. Like those are the two that knock my socks off.
Like I'm sure you guys have noticed this. I'm sure you guys have both seen Suspiria a ton of times, but like I've seen things in that movie that I've never seen before until it was on 4K, and I'd seen that movie 20 times before that.
Right. Yeah, like that zombie transfer from Blue Underground, man. Like you can see like the larva's eggs and shit, dude. Like it's fucking phenomenal, man.
Yeah,
it's really
even the fucking Blu-ray from them before they did the 4K looked fucking amazing.
Like I even said that, like even like the old Blue Underground DVDs look good. Like they always look good. It's crazy. They've always done really good work and shit like that. So props to Lustig for putting out all that shit, man. The problem is with Blue Underground is that they have like 5 titles that they keep re-releasing like for eternity.
Like Zombie, Maniac.
Yeah, like some of their 4K transfers recently
Maniac again with
pretty interesting. Cover. I mean, do we really need Franco films in 4K? Like, come on, man. We just don't need 4K transfers of.
His cost to do those is probably just so much lower that it's like.
Well, yeah, because they own them already. They don't have to license them. Back in the day, they would license them, but now it seems like they're just redoing their own label, the stuff they already own. Yeah. And I know they lost some of them too, because other studios have picked them up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just too many companies to name, man. Like Severn's another one that does really good work.
They do great work. They're so expensive though.
Yeah.
I'm to the point where like, dude, I'm like, my collecting habits have like decreased so much.
It's just nuts. There's so many companies.
It's just too expensive, man.
Like Cauldron. Like another, like they're a smaller company. Yeah. They're doing good work, but they're putting out some pretty interesting titles. And then you got all the sister labels of fucking Vinegar Syndrome. Like it just never ends. There seems like there's companies popping up left and right now. It's just
TerrorVision.
TerrorVision. I mean, when TerrorVision announced like a laundry list of films, I was like, what in the motherfuck? Like that is, I've never fucking.
They announced like 50 titles or something.
I've never heard of a company ever doing that. Like. I actually was a little bit disappointed that they did that because now you're just anticipating all these things. Like with Vinegar Syndrome, like you don't know what the next 4 titles are going to be for the next month kind of thing. Like it's always kind of a surprise. I was kind of disappointed. Besides, TerrorVision, since they left the Vinegar Syndrome sister label on the website and stuff, I haven't really picked up anything because their shipping is just atrocious. Like it's fucking bad. Mm-hmm. It's really, really bad. And it's more expensive and shit. It was just way cheaper and affordable to go through Vinegar Syndrome where when you don't pay for shipping half the time. And it was just a lot better deal for me.
I just refuse to pay for shipping. I don't know how bad the rates change on the shipping to Canada, but
sometimes it's bad,
always
man.
spend the minimum.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, with Vinegar Syndrome, like I never ever pay for shipping and stuff. So it's nice. And they're cool too because they're shipping out of the States now to Canada because they used to have a warehouse here and they used to ship, but they cover like all the custom fees and shit too. So that's nice. So you don't have to worry about that shit. So
yeah, and I think they actually just opened up a store in Toronto.
Yeah, they did. I actually know exactly where it is. I saw the thing. I was like, oh, I know where that is. Fucking awesome.
Yeah, the one in Connecticut's really cool. I've been there a couple of times.
Yeah, I think next time I'm in Toronto, I'm gonna make a point to go and check out the store. I mean, I got to do that, right? You got to do it if you're in the area.
Oh, for sure. It's just like, how often do you get to walk into like a little store that's just all boutique labels?
Right. Yeah, it's pretty fucking awesome, man. Pretty awesome. So before the show, I thought it would be fun to I just Googled like a list of like the best Halloween movies to watch on Halloween. I haven't even looked at the list. Mm-hmm. So the first thing it came up was a list from Variety or from Variety.com.
Oh, maybe.
So I'm like, it's exactly why I wanted to do it. I was like, how bad is this list going to be, man?
I can't wait.
So like, I'm like, and it was literally, but it was one that was short enough to like talk about. There was a couple other ones that were like 50 and 70 movies. I'm like, fuck that. I don't want to go through one of those lists. This one says the 21 best Halloween movies ever ranked.
Okay.
So actually ranked. So let's talk about this. Okay. All right. So, it is. Okay. Right. So it does start from 21 down. Okay, number 21 is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, 2019. Did you guys see this
Average.
You know what? I watched it in the theater, really liked it, and then I watched it again this past September, I think, right before Halloween on 4K, and I still think it's pretty solid. If you grew up with those stories, it's cool to see them on the screen and actualized. It could have been better though.
Yeah, I was pretty unfamiliar with the stories, actually, to be honest.
Really? That's actually shocking.
I know. Like
I had those books growing up.
Like I knew about the stories, but I totally think that I'd never read them. Because like I'm watching this movie in the theater and I'm thinking to myself going, I either have never read the source material or I just have the worst memory in the world, because I was not getting anything from this. Like it was like all new to me. Right. So I just kind of took it for what it was. And, overall, I thought it was pretty enjoyable. I did rewatch it after again, and I thought it was still pretty solid. I think I watched it with the wife, I believe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
it's a good like gateway-ish horror flick for younger kids.
Yeah, I thought it was it's pretty interesting that's on this list, because this is like, it did say all time, right? Like movies ever. So this is all time. All right, so number 21.
Going really narrow with the Halloween thing.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, I'm assuming that these are probably movies to watch around. I'm assuming all these movies are probably not set actually on Halloween.
Yeah.
Maybe.
How these
we'll see.
Well, I guess we'll see. Number 20. Oh, I don't think I've ever seen this. Weird. Practical Magic from 1998.
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, like Nicole Kidman.
That's like saying it's like Hocus Pocus, but like except Nicole Kidman's like plays like I'm the bad girl who gets all the boys.
It's
this
listed
is
as a drama.
My two good sisters. Yeah, it's like a kid.
Romantic.
It's like Hocus Pocus for little
drama.
girls.
Oh, it's like a witch movie. Yeah, I don't think I've ever.
It's not good. It's like I saw it when I was 30 years old, so maybe that's
Sandra Bullock.
To it. Yeah,
I'm assuming
Sandra Bullock plays like the good sister.
So, I mean, there's multiple reasons why I've never watched this movie. First of all, I really am not a Nicole Kidman fan. I can't stand her, actually.
That's my favorite actress.
Really?
What the fuck?
Dude, that's crazy. I don't know. There's something
Jennifer
about
Jason
her.
Lee. I love
Jennifer Jason Lee. Jennifer Jason Lee is excellent in everything, man. She's just fucking phenomenal. But yeah, there's a couple reasons here. Nicole Kidman, I've never liked her. Number two, this movie came out in 1998. That was the year I graduated. And there was no way I probably thought this was a total chick flick. So there's no way I was fucking watching this.
It's literally like for 12-year-old girls.
Yeah. So there you go. So I had a hard pass on this and never looked back, apparently. So yeah, I've never seen this movie. Okay. Nothing else to say on that one. Number 19. Oh, here we go. Canadian classic, Ginger Snaps from 2000.
Absolutely. My favorite werewolf film.
It's such a good movie.
It's such a good movie. It's such a.
I actually like all three of them.
Honestly, it might be I'm not in love with this movie or anything. I do think it's a really good movie, but it might be my favorite werewolf movie too. I can't think of a werewolf movie I'm like super high on.
Well, everybody says The Howling or American Werewolf in London are like the two.
I think American Werewolf in London's probably better, but I would probably rather watch Ginger Snaps like on any given night.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what kind of list you're making. Are you making your favorite? Is it your favorite film?
If I was going to say like favorites and like just purely favorites, I would rather watch Ginger Snaps than American Werewolf in London.
See, I always try to stress that to people, because when it comes to werewolf films, I feel like favorites vary so much when it comes, but most people do best lists because they just don't understand the difference between best and favorite. But when it comes down to it, like I've said this many times, like American Werewolf in London, I think is a better movie than The Howling. But I prefer The Howling. The Howling is my favorite film. Like werewolf film, and like, it's just the way I describe it. I think Werewolf in London is a better film, right? If I was to make a best list, it would probably, you know what I mean? So
the thing too that's a little unique about American Werewolf in London is I don't even think the best stuff about the movie like has anything to do with like the werewolf.
No, I've always said this before too. I remember somebody gave me so much shit on one of my videos. I was doing, remember when I used to do the top 10 Tuesdays? Yeah. And I remember it might even be on this top 10 werewolf video. I'd have to click into it, but I said something along the lines of, I'm not sure if maybe it was on the podcast. I don't know. Someone commented one time and was pissed right off. And they were calling me every name in the book and shit. I said something about the best scene in American Werewolf in London is the dream sequence scene.
Yeah,
And this guy
Yeah, the dream sequences are good in that movie.
just
man.
like his dead friend following him around and just talking to him like is the best stuff in the movie.
Totally, 100%. And I think this guy would like totally just kind of. I probably put it in the mindset of like, because I always stress on this show how much I really don't like dream sequences in movies that don't have anything to do with dreams. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you throw in random dream sequences into films, it takes me out of the narrative sometimes, and it's used as like, it's just
because it doesn't matter. That's the problem.
That's the thing. Like it's a variable in a film.
It's just a scare, and that's it.
It is. It's totally like a scare. It's like this variable, you know. And I'm like, fuck, whatever, man. But like, you know, with something like Nightmare on Elm Street, with it's actually about dreams and shit. That's totally fucking different to me. But and I always promote and I always say how much I like the dream sequence in American Werewolf in London. And it's odd because, like I said, I'm just not a big fan. It always kind of takes me out. But I mean, that shit that they did in there was really creepy and was really good. And I think it's some of the best shit in the film. It's just like so fucking odd to me. But Ginger Snaps though, man, it would you know, like the commentary in Ginger Snaps would actually play out pretty good in today's kind of like woke society and shit like that too. I think
there's a lot of parallels with this movie to like something like Raw today.
Yeah, right. I think a lot of people should actually have never seen Ginger Snaps from like, you know, today's kind of society. Should watch Ginger Snaps. Actually, it's pretty good. Oh, here we go. Number 18, Night of the Demons, 1988.
I mean, it's classic, bro.
Very classic Halloween movie.
Everything about Night of the Demons is amazing. Like from the opening score is so fucking good. The score to this movie is so good. Like that theme music and then the animation in the beginning. So fucking awesome, man. I think when I met Kevin Tenney, he told me, or maybe it's not, I'm pretty sure he told me this in person. Because I asked him about why he went with animation for the opening credits. Because like it's like an oddball thing to do, right? Because generally you'd have like an opening scene, whatever, run your credits, blah, blah, blah. And I think he told me the reason why they did the animation was because they didn't have the money to shoot anymore. Shit. So it was really just a budgetary constraint that they ended up doing. The animation was just a lot cheaper to do.
I remember.
I think it works.
Yeah, it does. I remember this was before I met you, Moodz. It was like 2008.
Yeah.
Or 9. I was living alone, wasn't working, and I had the Netflix DVD by mail thing because I was so bored all the time. I didn't have a car. I didn't have a way to get a job, and I was just like, you know, my grandfather was basically paying for all my shit, and I remember doing the DVD by mail, and I just like the whole summer, I literally just like did DVD by mail as much as possible. I think I got 3 out at a time, and I just was watching. I wasn't like a big movie collector back then yet or anything. I had like probably about like 200 movies that I'd owned from growing up and buying on DVD and at Walmart and stuff. But I was trying to watch movies from like the 80s that I had never seen before, and I remember renting like Sleepaway Camp and stuff, and Night of the Demons was one of them, and I remember getting it, and the beginning where the old dude is walking with the apples and the razors fall out, and he's all like, "I'm gonna get you, kids," or so. I was like, "Holy shit!" It's so dark, and it's like it's a throwaway scene, you know. It does does pay off in the end. I'm
watching this movie on Friday, and I'm laughing because every time. I always just, you know, I wasn't really thinking about it. And I'm laughing to myself. I'm like, I never realized, well, I realized before, but I just kind of put it into my mind, just kind of pieced it together. And I was like, Night of the Demons is like one of the only movies, like kind of standard film, like not an anthology film that has a wraparound story in it.
Yeah.
It literally has a bookend wraparound story.
Yeah.
For some odd fucking reason, they put this in there. Like you don't even have to have that opening or end scene in it, but they do.
Yeah. But I just remember like just laughing like on the couch, like by myself, eating French fries, like just laughing that this guy's gonna fucking razor blade some apples because he hates these kids.
I know, man. It's awesome. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I have Linnea Quigley tattoo from this movie.
Really?
I'm looking at a frame poster of her right now, and another autograph picture of Linnea Quigley.
Is it the classic scene where she puts the lipstick in her nipple?
Not with the nipple. I tried to.
Is it the classic scene where she bends over in the store? Oh, that movie's the best.
You guys have sour balls? Sure do. Must have a hard time getting blowjobs in.
Wasn't that the director and the producer, like at the counter too? Not the director, but I think it was two of the producers, like at the counter, like they say the line too.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. Okay, so number 17 is 1986's Trick or Treat.
The Sammy Kerr one.
Yeah.
That's coming from Synapse, I think, right? Or is that
are they? Yeah, someone is putting it out. I can't remember who announced it.
Yeah, I know that Michael Felsher from
who did announce it?
Fucking.
Oh no, Kino did Trick or Treats.
What the fuck is the label?
Well, Trick or Treats was originally put out by Code Red. I think they licensed out the rights.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I know that Michael Felsher from Vestron is the one that's working on the Trick or Treat. He said that it was like, it's a title that took a lot because forever nobody could do it because of the music and the
Vestron's actually putting it out.
No, Vestron isn't, but the guy who runs Vestron, Michael Felsher, also does. He's the guy from Red Shirt Pictures. I'm sure you've seen special features from Blue Underground to Anchor Bay to Scream Factory, but he's the one that's working on that. I think it's Synapse, I want to say, that's putting it out.
Yeah, I can't remember. I remember being announced and I was like, yeah, shit. Can't remember now. Like I said, there's so many releasing companies now. It's hard to keep track of who the fuck's announcing what.
Yeah. We reviewed that one on one of the Halloween shows before. I've always liked it.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, so that's number 7.
Better than Hard Rock Zombies, I'll tell you that.
Hard Rock Zombies is fun. It's a hot mess. It's a hot mess fun movie though.
Dude, that movie is a fucking
dude. I could not get over how fucking good the Vinegar Syndrome transfer was on that though. Yeah, because I have an old ass DVD that looks like a fucking bootleg. Like it always had like these kind of gray market releases and the transfers were always basically like VHS rips and shit. Maybe with a little fucking upkeeping, but nothing fucking good. And that shit, I popped it in. I was like, God damn, crazy shit. What the fuck? Okay. Number 16, Scream 6.
Oh, okay.
It is set on Halloween, actually.
I know,
right?
but it's just, I'm just like, why?
Oh, so this list is just made. This is a new list.
Yeah, it has to be, man. But Scream 6, like, really?
Hey, I mean, I fucking loved it.
When I was in the theater watching, I was like, this is totally going to make JP's top 10 this year, I bet. Fucking Scream 6.
Especially this year.
Saw 10, fucking Scream 6. What other sequels and shit can be in there?
I mean, some of them I'm just by default.
Listen, here's the thing about the Scream movies too. Obviously, the first one I fucking love. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. I actually don't really care for 2 or 3 that much, and I never like gravitated towards them growing up or anything. Like they were never like regular watches. But I fucking love Scream 4, and now I really like 5 and 6. So the franchise has gotten like better for me.
Oh man, I
liked 5, but I did not care for 6.
Oh, the reveal in 5 made me actually laugh out loud. I was like, "You fucking kidding me?"
That's how I felt in 6. I was like, "Are you fucking for real?"
You know what's weird about part 6, man?
This.
So we've talked about this many times, and like, I know JP always trips. He's like, you don't try to figure out things in films, and like, how sometimes when you're watching a film, you're not trying to figure things out. Something just clicks in your brain. You're like, I think I know what's
just
going
like
on, where it's going. Yeah, it's like where it's going. I don't know how in the fuck I'm sitting in the theater watching Scream 6, and I'm like, I have this idea of what's going to happen with the reveal in this one, and it pretty much was bang on. I'm like, how the fuck did that just click in me? Because I'm not trying to figure it out, like literally, but it almost came across as being like predictable. Like, I know that's the thing, right? We have this conversation about predictability in films, and JP's like, it's never really that bad of a thing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, sometimes it is. Like, I feel like in a Scream film, if you're predicting the outcome of a Scream film, I think that's a negative.
I just thought it was incredibly dumb. Like I wasn't even like I wasn't really
it
like
was fucking stupid.
Like I wasn't even thinking into it like who it is. I'm just sitting here trying to enjoy the movie. You know what I mean? Like I'm not like I really wasn't thinking into like who the killers would be. So like, but like that would have never crossed my mind because that just seems so ridiculous to me. It just seems like they wrote the script overnight.
I mean, I think they're like a certain style and a certain thing, and when you're talking about the Scream franchise, there's so much suspend your disbelief because of how often this is happening to the people, right? Like there's literally 15 different killers in the Scream franchise. But the thing I've always gave Scream credit for one, longevity and actually continuing one story and not like doing a reboot. And then two, Scream actually has a lot of characters that I want to see live, and that's very rare for.
I'll give you that, because that scene with Gail, I was like, legitimately.
Well, they pretty much always fucking do live,
and that's why I like it, because it's different. Because most films don't do that. But I think I was actually pissed when they killed off Dewey.
I thought that was like a big move, where like now it's not safe for like legacy.
But wasn't it inevitable though? Like one of the main
everybody says that, but everybody said that about Scream 4. When Scream 4 was coming out, everybody was like, "Oh, they're going to kill off Dewey and Gail and Sydney, maybe," but they're definitely killing off some of them. And then people were pissed when they didn't, but I was like relieved, because I'm like, I expected them to, and they didn't. So I actually give them props for that. But it's like, I like that they don't kill off people when most franchises do.
I think I have a problem where I just don't like any of the kids either.
You don't like the core four, bro?
I fucking cannot. I cannot stand new Randy.
Yeah,
dude, I like cannot stand that girl.
Man,
the girl's probably my least favorite, but the brother, I love that dude.
I think that I don't understand why they didn't just pay Nev Campbell.
I know.
For Scream 6. Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't hate Scream 6 because, like, she's like Sydney's not in it. It does feel a little bit strange not having her in the film. I'll be honest, because the narrative is like, was about her.
Yeah.
And like, she's such a major focus point of this franchise. To not have her in there, this film felt different from that aspect, but it felt off too. And it felt like it was stretching so much with where they went with this too. And I was like, it just felt goofy to me. Like, in a bad way. Right? It just felt goofy and off to me, because like I feel like they're going to learn from this mistake, and they're going to pay Nev, and she's going to be in part 7, and then they're going to make 8, 9, and 10, and then we're going to have these 10 films, and you're going to go and have the Scream marathon, and you're going to get to part 6, and there's no Nev there, and it's going to be that reminder of how fucking dumb this is. You know what I mean?
But it had Kirby. That made up for it for me.
I thought she was so bad. Like this, like
I think you were so bad.
This like manic pixie girl walks in and she's like, "I'm an FBI agent." Yeah, fucking right.
Explain to me, like how low ballish did they go with Nev Campbell for this film? Because
I don't know.
Like, I don't get
that's the thing. We don't know. We don't who knows? Nev Campbell could have been asking for like an insane amount of money, but
she's the face of the franchise. Why wouldn't you pay her?
Someone about this, where like someone was it wasn't enough. And you really do. We don't know like what was offered. We don't know what the going rate is.
Yeah, we don't know what everybody else has to get paid too. You know what I mean? Like, I see, like, when you have a big ensemble cast like that, especially what's that new girl Ortega? She's like,
she's got she's a budget now. Yeah, she's bigger
but that's the key point there. That's the key point. New girl in the film. Nev is the face of the franchise. You give her what she wants, and then you work out the rest of the cast from there. That's how shit works. You don't fucking change the format of your characters because you don't want to pay your star. Like, it seems so fucking ridiculous to me to do something like that. Like, as a producer, as anybody involved with the Scream franchise, I'd be like, hey, is Nev wrapped up? And then we'll go from there. And then as long as we have her wrapped, then we'll write the script. Like, that should be your main focus.
Yeah, but at the same time, the story was in Scream 5, the story was more about the Ortega girl than it was Nev.
Yeah,
right.
You know what I mean? So it was kind of a passing of the torch.
Well, I mean, you in a sense, you can't have the same shit happening to fucking Sydney.
Yeah, you can't have like fucking 40.
It does make sense, but you still need to fucking have her there. Like, it makes complete sense to have her there. But it is what it is. But I put money on it though that she's back in part 7, like fucking for sure.
Definitely would not surprise me.
Right? It's just,
it's one of those. Maybe just like had enough confidence, because like that general from the time Scream 5 came out and like the release of Scream 6, that Jenna Ortega girl like blew up.
Well, you got to remember, dude. Like, these new
she's
Scream
in
films,
Beetlejuice too.
She's in everything. And she's like in the interviews saying like, I wrote half this stuff. Like, dude, she's
she did she got like the Wednesday character like was super popular this year.
One thing that I do forget though is like these new Scream films are not for the old school Scream fans. It's for the new generation Scream fans, and that's why they actually
is the bigger draw if you think about it like that.
I'm not retracting my statement about Neve Campbell, but I'm also saying I mean that's having her build is for the older heads, but having Jenna Ortega is for the new generation of Scream fans, and it makes sense because she's literally, like you guys have said, she's fucking everywhere. Like this girl she's like the biggest thing right now. Right. So it makes sense to have her in these films and focus on that and stuff. It does make sense, but but it doesn't hurt to have Neve there. It really doesn't. But
no, and I still think that I like that they didn't just like kill her off screen. You know what I mean? Like just say like, oh, Sydney's dead.
What if they did something like kills her like with a stunt double? Oh my God.
Yeah, right.
It's like really Back to the Future 2, where they had Crispin Glover's character without Crispin Glover.
Right. Well, they actually wrote that into the narrative, right? So when Crispin Glover turned down the sequel, they wrote his dad getting into that car accident and being all fucked up just as a jab to him.
Yeah.
Like did that
I think he sued them too.
Like they were fucking with him, and like it totally worked though. He got underneath his skin. It's hilarious that they put that into the movie. It's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
It still cracks me up every time I watch part 2, and I'm just like, that's hilarious. But anyways, moving along, number 15 is another movie that we've actually reviewed on this podcast, and that's Ernest Scared Stupid from 1991.
Nice. See, Dave Z, fuck you.
Yeah, Dave, fuck up. Nah,
Dave Z talks so much shit on the fact that we like not only that we like Ernest, but we reviewed Ernest.
Right.
Scared Stupid. And dude, it is actually it's actually has like some scary moments in it, and it's
a fun movie.
The trolls are basically the killer clown costumes just repainted.
Right.
It just seems to me like horror has lots of different levels and different shades, and you're going to review lots of different stuff like over 240 episodes.
Well, the thing I don't understand is that, like, I mean, I've talked to Dave about this too before, and like, he doesn't like anything that's kid friendly, like, for kids and stuff. He doesn't really consider it to be like horror. And I'm like, but why can't there be horror for kids?
Right.
Like on that level, like, I don't understand what the difference is. Like, there's horror for adults. Why can't there be kid horror? Like Scooby-Doo. It's still considered horror because it's ghosts and goblins, and that's what the whole premise of the show is. It's supernatural shit. Like,
and it's gateway too. Like, whenever I watched horror from the very beginning, but I also was also a kid, and I liked cartoons and kid shows too. And I liked ones that were more horror than other ones. Like, I loved Goosebumps. I loved Are You Afraid of the Dark? Scooby-Doo was a staple. Scooby-Doo always came on at like midnight when I was a kid, and I would watch it.
I watched Scooby-Doo so much as a kid. It was like I knew some of that shit like word for word. It was ridiculous. But like, I used to watch, the Ghostbusters cartoon, the real Ghostbusters, and Beetlejuice.
Yeah, of course, on Fox Kids
and Beetlejuice and stuff. Like, all these things were horror related. And like, there's so many cartoons like that. I don't think people even realize, but yeah, man, I consider it is gateway stuff. It's, kids need that gateway to get into, adult stuff, right? That's what I feel.
My roots definitely came from like, Are You Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps?
Yeah.
Right.
When I was a kid, I was reading Goosebump books because I loved horror movies. And when you're in school, there's not a lot, in elementary school, there's not a lot of horror that can satisfy that craving for horror that you would have back then. Then you find out that there's a whole series of fucking books that are essentially horror stories that are honestly very based off of horror stuff that we've seen, like mummies and werewolves and stuff like that, but just sort of toned down a bit for kids. And then of course the Fear Street books that I got into for young adults were violent and murders, and people get stabbed to death and stuff.
See, I was going to bring that up actually, because we've talked about this on the show before, and I feel like I'm always saying that, but like the Goosebumps, I never read the Goosebumps books because they were a little bit later for me.
Yeah,
I was older when they came out, because I grew up reading R.L. Stine's Fear Street books, like, in 1990, like, I was 10 years old. And that's what, and like when they put out the Fear Street movie a couple years ago, I was so jacked on it, because I was like, this is fucking amazing. Even though the movie had nothing to do with the books, it was a
couple references.
It was a brand new narrative. Like it wasn't related to any books, but I was fine with that. And it was just cool that they actually did something related to the Fear Street, the original Fear Street and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I read those things. I could read. My mom used to get so pissed at me because she'd buy me a book and I'd have it read in 3 hours. Like I would just sit there and go in it, man. Like I was such a quick reader as a kid. Like I was so far ahead with reading and shit. I could just rip through books and I'm like, where's the next one? I fucking love those books, dude. Like,
yeah, those and Christopher Pike, man. I read a bunch of Christopher, and I love the covers, bro. The covers are so good.
Yeah, the covers are what like drew me in.
Dude, totally 100%. It was funny because I had like every Fear Street book. I owned them all, but I never owned any Christopher Pikes, but I'd read all of them at the library at the school. I'd always check them out and shit and read them. And it was weird. I never bought them, but it was the Fear Streets. Artwork was amazing. I agree. All right. So number 14 is Terrifier 2, 2022.
Yeah, man. Fucking Terrifier. It's a pretty big deal these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were
I loved it. It was good.
We were talking about Terrifier 2 or Terrifier franchise last night. And so rumor has it that the new one, Terrifier 3, is going to be set on Christmas. And I was like, you know what?
That's what I saw too.
They should just continue along because they've done the first 2 on Halloween. Just keep going in sequence. Next holiday is Christmas. Then it's Easter. Then it's like whatever. Then, Valentine's Day, then Easter. Then, just
4th of July.
Make the whole franchise. Make the whole franchise just based on every national holiday. That'd be so good.
Like, I didn't even I don't honestly like either of the Terrifier movies, but if it's really on Christmas, I would be so hyped.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
No, I think it is. I think it's official.
Christmas, New Year's, then it would be Valentine's Day, and then Easter. Like you could just keep doing. You could make like 20 of these, like all based on each holiday. Like it's fucking cool, man.
I could totally see Art the Clown at like a New Year's, like in the city, like like the ball dropping type shit. You know what I mean? Like, dude,
it makes complete sense. And so does the Valentine's Day one.
Yeah,
to do.
Yeah, Christmas though is going to be epic, dude.
I hope they get more of a budget this time. I hope they just keep getting a bigger budget for these.
I think they definitely will, because this one was the most successful one for sure.
Dude, it killed it in the theaters, man.
Yeah,
it did really well. Like, I mean, this they're just going to keep getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, like I didn't care. Even though I didn't care for it, I was very happy to see this little horror movie do well and have all these people like it.
I'm just shocked that the thing got played in cinemas and it was that fucking gory.
I saw that at Cinemark.
Super violent. Like that scene, man, with the chick in the bed. Like she is torn apart beyond oblivion, man. Like that is fucked. That whole scene just blew my fucking mind. I was like, oh my God, people are sitting in the cinema watching this shit. Like that's crazy to me. It's really gory. I loved it.
He got so much charisma, man.
Mm-hmm. It's insane to have a character with so much charisma, so much style, and without saying anything. Like it's a silent character. Dude. It's a silent character, but he has so much personality. It's just it's so incredibly hard to do. It's like Charlie Chaplin shit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like silent film, it's so much harder to keep that attention when you're not saying shit to people. But like Art the Clown is saying shit to you by not saying shit to you. You know what I mean? Like it resonates so well. Like that's a sign of a great actor. The guy does it really well. So Terrifier 2, man. Number 13. Oh, I love this movie. So much fun. Speaking of kid related horror, Casper from 1995. Nice. Starring the young Christina Ricci, Bill Pullman. I always like Casper, man. Fuck, it's fun.
I saw that in a movie theater.
Did you really?
Yep.
Wow. Crazy.
Yeah,
I saw it about the time it came out.
I've always liked Casper. Devon Sawa also.
I've got the Blu-ray. I watch it every once in a while. I watched it a couple years ago again, and it's still fun.
Yeah,
I haven't watched it in a long time,
as a small child.
I've got a few Casper made for TV kind of films and stuff on DVD and shit. I'm a big animated fan. Like I've got so much cartoons. I'm just a total fucking kid.
Mm-hmm.
But I love me some Casper. He's the friendly ghost. Right?
Wouldn't be surprised if we see Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown now that Casper showed up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So Casper, number 13. Number 12 is, this is such a fun movie. And I believe another one we've reviewed on this show, which is Idle Hands from 1999. We reviewed this, right? Also
with Devon Sawa.
Devon Sawa. Yeah. Yeah. We did this one a few years back, I think.
Yeah. And honestly, that Idle Hands is one that as time goes on, it becomes more of like a a cult classic for me. I think it's fun.
I just love the actual offspring is in it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was actually they did that a lot back then with like the American Pie movies, like Blink-182's in it. Like they were doing that. They were putting the musicians in the movie.
That was this era, man. The late 90s was always respecting their like pop artists and stuff and throwing them in the movies and shit. It was these soundtracks. It was just, it's just product of its time, man. But I liked Idle Hands right when it came out. Like I watched it and I had so much fun with it. It's good stuff. Still funny, man. It still makes me laugh out loud.
It is funny. It's just a cool idea too.
Yeah. Well, number 11 and one we just reviewed last week, which is Sleepy Hollow, 1999. So that one is constantly lumped in the Halloween films. It really is. It really is. Okay, so into the top 10. What the fuck? Are they fucking with me right now?
Trying to sell some tickets, try some DVD sales.
I'm gonna pre-warn you. I am not trying to fuck with you guys on this one.
Okay.
And like this is something. Oh my god, this is I don't get this at all. Number 10 is The Karate Kid from 1984.
What?
Wait, what the shit?
Are they fucking like this?
Is that set on Halloween?
Even though it isn't a traditional Halloween movie, the 80s classic still scratches nostalgic kids to sit around the couch with a bowl of popcorn and suspend.
What is it?
And yeah, a pivotal scene does take place on Halloween. I don't remember. I haven't seen I'll be honest. I haven't seen The Karate Kid in so many years that I actually can't quite remember.
I watched it last year and I don't remember that scene. I don't I'm sure it happens, but it's obviously not that important.
Okay, so this is what it is. It says, hey, pivotal scene does take place on Halloween. The full body skeleton costumes that Johnny and his cronies wear are iconic. That the Cobra Kai sequence. Yeah, right. Okay, yeah. So as I read on,
that is not one that I would think of.
This is some writer has some quirky tradition where they watch like the Karate Kid every Halloween, so they put it on this list.
This is literally making me laugh because this is the funniest transition ever. So that was number 10 into number 9. Like you couldn't get any more polar opposite than this duo. House of 1,000 Corpses from 2003. What the fuck, Karate Kid? House of 1,000 Corpses. Oh my god, that is ridiculously funny. But
that is a good one for Halloween, though.
Totally,
I've always got that's one that always sticks out.
Totally, 100%, man. I haven't actually watched House in a lot of years.
I watched it last year.
Yeah, I have no idea when the last time I watched it, man. It's crazy.
The more I watch it, again, it seems to be a common theme with what I'm saying, but it's becoming one of my favorites ever.
Yeah, it's the characters, man. Like so much fun. So much fun.
I also think I just appreciate it more as time has gone on for the style of it, and like the more grittiness of it, and just the more honestly, like even like the amateurish, like Rob Zombie's learning type of shit. That's like it has all his music and stuff that feels weird at first, but I don't know. I just think it works.
Yeah, it's actually one of the very first Blu-rays I ever had in my collection, and it's still one of the best looking.
Best transfers too.
It really does. Like you pop this thing in, and you're like, "Holy fuck, does this ever look good, man?" It's perfect for the aesthetic of the film. It's got that dark, dingy look, but it has lots of colors in it too. So
yeah,
it's pretty interesting dynamic. So number 8, another film that we've actually reviewed on this show. I shouldn't even say that anymore because I feel like every film from here on we probably have. But I don't think we're ever going to get to the Karate Kid on this podcast. I think we'll probably pass on that one. But
you say that until like Halloween 6 years from now.
Yeah, Donnie Darko, 2001.
Woo! I love this movie.
One of my favorites.
It is such
Donnie Darko.
Donnie Darko. I probably mentioned when we reviewed it, but when it first came out, I was like, I wasn't overly high on it. It's one of those movies that it took multiple watches. I think more or less to like.
Understand it.
Probably fully more understand it and just kind of figure things out and stuff. And I thought our review of this was really good. Like we really kind of talked about like pretty much everything and like kind of, wasn't just theories, but I think it was more of like realistically what was going on and stuff like that. And it in my opinion, it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's just one of those things that I think it's very hard to digest for people. But I tell people, like, Donnie Darko is a great example of a film you just don't watch once. You can't. You have to watch it multiple times.
Quite a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've probably seen it about 20 times, honestly.
I haven't seen it that much, but that's one, like, at minimum, like, at least every couple of years I'll watch.
Yeah, I remember I was at a FYE back in 2006, maybe. And me and my friends were there. We were at the mall, and it was like Friday night, and I think we went to like the movies or something. We were going to buy some movies to go home and watch. And we talked to the guy in there, and actually, you know what? I remember Saw 3 had just come out. So whatever year Saw 3 came out at. And we talked to the guy in FYE and was asking for recommendations, and he recommended Last House on the Left and Donnie Darko, and we bought them.
That guy's a fucking G.
Which Last House? Oh, Last House on the Left remake didn't come out until
it wasn't out yet.
Yeah,
it wasn't out till 2009. So it was
the
original.
guy that recommends you Donnie Darko doesn't recommend you the remake of Last House on the Left.
But I remember we took him home, and my friends hated both movies. Like, they thought Last House on the Left was like awful, and I liked it. And then Donnie Darko, they kept calling it Donnie Dorko for years. But the funny thing is about that is we watched it so many more times. That's why I watched it like 20 times, that everybody started to like it. And now like all my friends from back then probably consider it like one of their favorite movies.
Right. All right. Number 7 is E.T. 1982.
It's been way too long since I've seen this type of real.
Dude, you know what? I don't even really like E.T. that much.
Dude, I'm not the biggest fan either.
Apparently, I liked it as a kid, but it's like nothing I have any nostalgia towards or like ever like have the desire to watch again.
Every time I bring up E.T., I always have to say that I prefer Mac and Me.
I didn't watch E.T. for the first time until like 4 years ago. So,
oh yeah, so
I didn't grow up with it.
See, I grew up watching E.T. because it was one of those things that was either on TV or you had the tape or so. Like, it was just everybody fucking had a copy of it, right? It was like Titanic, right? It was
a very popular movie.
Every fucking buddy had it, so you saw it a million fucking, and that's probably part of it. I guess it probably just got so played out and so sick of it. And honestly, like, I don't remember. I haven't seen E.T. probably since the 90s, though. Like, it's been forever since I've seen it because I don't need to anymore.
I mean, it does have that great Spielberg vibe to it.
It does. It of course, you know.
It's not my favorite of those like Amblin movies.
No. Like, Mac and Me is fun.
I've never seen that.
It's actually really fun. It's a total E.T. ripoff, but it's fun. Number 6, another film that we have reviewed, Pumpkinhead, 1988.
This is a good. I watched
absolutely that. It doesn't take place on Halloween, but it is a great October watch.
It's a perfect one for Halloween. Totally,
it's a perfect one for Dark Harvest.
Exactly. Right.
Yo, let me copy your homework.
I was actually going to say that, but I think we might be bringing up Pumpkinhead later on in the show.
Dude, it's like I'll just wait till we get to Dark Harvest.
Like, I literally, it's like a total mashup, right?
Pumpkinhead is such a classic.
Two iconic Halloween characters.
I'm watching Dark Harvest, and I'm like, I feel like it's like Children of the Corn mashed up with like Pumpkinhead and the Outsiders.
Yeah, dude, that's actually a good description.
Totally. Like, I'm thinking, like, we got the greasers here, we got the corn, we got the the Pumpkinhead character kind of. This is fucking bizarre. Anyways, number 5, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Oh baby,
yeah,
great Halloween film.
1982, one of my favorite mean-spirited movies of all time. I still can't even fucking believe like how mean-spirited Halloween 3 is. I always bring it up because it's so funny to me that the objective is just to kill kids. Like, and they do kill kids. It's fucking hilarious to me. Like, there's no other way around it. He's just killing kids. It's just so fucking funny to me, man.
That was the first Halloween film I ever seen too.
Right.
I hated it when I was a kid. I was like, it's not Michael Myers.
I hated Michael Myers when I was a kid. And I was like, I remember describing this movie to my grandfather. I was like, I watched this movie called Halloween, but I probably didn't know the subtitle.
I used to hate that shit on AMC. Sorry. But I before I forget, I used to hate this shit because they used to do the Halloween marathon and they play part 1, 2, and then they go to 4 and 5. And I'm like,
yeah,
why the fuck when they play? Oh, it's because of Michael. I'm like, fuck, shut up, man.
Yeah. But and I was describing it, and he's like, no, he's like, Halloween's Michael Myers. I was like, I don't know. This movie's called Halloween. Like, and he just didn't know what I was talking about, because most people probably just never like people that weren't like movie fans probably just never even seen it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
But
and the 4K transfer is great. It's the music, the music, the opening, and the music, and the creepy like black suit guys and stuff. It just hits for me.
Classic Carpenter scores.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Fuck. Number 4, The Nightmare Before Christmas, 93.
I've always felt it more of a Christmas movie, personally.
I watched this like obsessively when I was a kid.
But doesn't it take place in Halloween Town?
Yeah. It literally is a movie that you can watch on Christmas or Halloween, and it feels like that, like it works.
I honestly,
it's the only movie like that.
I think I've watched this movie around Halloween and Christmas before. So yeah, you're completely right. We never reviewed this, did we? I'm surprised.
No, it came close a few times in the polls.
Right.
For both, for Christmas and for Halloween. I love it. I personally think it's like one of the coolest like Halloween Christmas things ever. Like both seasons it's perfect for.
I mean, if it wasn't stop motion, I probably wouldn't appreciate or even like it as much as I do, because it's like a musical kind of thing. So I don't know, man. I love stop motion though. I always talk about how much I love stop motion, but this one does it really well.
It has good songs. It's creepy. Yeah. The world is, very like Tim Burton-y, like Beetlejuicy.
It does feel like Beetlejuice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is what I probably owe a rewatch. Like, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but like, I just like don't have like strong or like nostalgic feelings for it.
Jack and Sally are fucking iconic.
Fucking rights, man. I dressed up as Jack for Halloween a few years ago.
I dressed up as the Pope this year.
Nice. Okay, number 3 is 2007's Trick or Treats. That's just a staple.
Trick or treat.
Trick or treat, yes.
I always say R.
It's actually one that I didn't mention off the top of the show, but I usually watch it every year.
Oh, for me, it's personally my favorite film set on Halloween, and it's my favorite anthology.
Yeah.
It's perfect to me. Like it just the way it's intertwined. I like all the stories. There's tragedy, there's comedy, there's even like, dude, I fucking love the werewolf scene with the Sweet Dreams Marilyn Manson song playing.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I love everything about that movie. Sam is one of the coolest designed original characters in the last 50 years or something like that.
I have so much Sam stuff in my basement now. Like, I've got the Sam stand-up doll, and
for one movie
Funko. I got so much shit, man.
He was in one movie that didn't even come out theatrically, got pushed straight to DVD, and he is an icon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually pretty impressive.
I've actually met Sam before. I've met Sam before. I got my pictures with him and shit. He's a lot older now.
Right.
But yeah, it's pretty funny, actually. Good stories. He actually doesn't remember much about the filming because he was pretty young when he did it, right?
How old was he?
Oh,
he was
fuck.
A little kid.
Like when I met him a couple years ago, and he was, what was it, like 14 years later? So he was like 20, he was like 7 or something when he did it. Like, he was young.
Oh, wow. He was really young.
Yeah. Like I asked, he's like, yeah, it's tough sometimes because like things I think I remembered, like, it's just, how your memory works and stuff. Like, he just doesn't, he's a kid.
Yeah.
Right. So, but yeah, Trick or Treat, man, staple. It's amazing. And actually, it's funny because Krampus is like, it's a Christmas staple watch for me too. I love Krampus. The atmosphere of that movie is like second to none, dude. Fuck. Love it. And it's one that grew on me, man, because I remember when we first, like, that fucking,
the gingerbread.
That scene, like, it took me right out of it when I was like, what the fuck just happened? Like, I can't even explain to you another movie that did that to me. Like, I was enjoying it so much.
I remember that because That was a rare case where you had seen the movie before, like you went to the cinema and I never did. And you're like, we were both kind of hyped for it. And you were like, you were telling me about it and you're like, dude, I was like literally like my jaw dropped. I was like so fucking annoyed.
Yeah.
And I was too when I first seen it. Yeah. Like you, it's grown on me incredibly. And it's one of my favorites now.
I kept going back to it because the way it's shot and the way it's edited and like how it's so dark, and I love the crap. Like I love the whole story of the film. Yeah. Like where it goes
to and atmospheric.
Dude, it's so, and like I just got over that whole thing. And now actually when I watch it, I'm just like, oh, it's the full moon part. And like, I love it. It just works out really good because like the effects and stuff, and it gets really gory and nasty and kids are dying. And it's actually really fucking nasty. Like it's good shit, man. I love Krampus. But I tell you, if it didn't have that atmosphere and that type of tone, I probably never would have went back to it. And I never would have, became one of my favorites. So anyways, number 2, which is a film I've seen quite a few times. I've watched it in a few years. I think me and the wife watched this one a few years back on Halloween, but it's Hocus Pocus.
I've actually never seen Hocus Pocus before.
Really?
You'll hate it if you see it like for the first time now.
I own it on Blu-ray, but I've like literally never watched it.
Like it's fine. It's not the worst thing you'll ever see, but it's like if you're seeing it for the first time in your 30s, like you're not gonna like it. That ship has sailed.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. Like I saw it back in the 90s too, because like I had a mom and a sister, right? So it's shit that appeals to women more, I guess.
Yeah, my mom like relentlessly made me watch this when I was a child.
Yeah,
it seems like what it seems like. It seems like a straight Lacey Lou film.
Yeah, she was like, I bet. See, if she likes practical magic, I bet if you like Hocus Pocus, you probably like practical magic.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, this is another one I always used to play on TV too, so you'd always catch parts of it and shit. So I've probably seen parts of it like 100 times. It's like one of those things. And number 1, which obviously has not been mentioned yet, so it has to be that movie, and it's Halloween from
Halloween.
No Great Pumpkin.
No Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. They had to make room for fucking Karate Kid.
Right. Like, how could you not have the Great Pumpkin? Like, that's a fucking good point. That is absolutely...
Well, actually, Charlie Brown in general is like a staple for all holidays for me. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Halloween. Like, I love the Charlie Brown specials.
Oh, me too, man. I watch it. Like, I actually have a couple of Charlie Brown box sets and shit. And I always set them up at Christmas. I watch all the things throughout the holidays and stuff. Like, but you got to watch the fucking Peanut stuff, man. It's just classic.
Yeah, the difference between me and Christmas and Halloween is in Halloween I only watch horror that's like set on Halloween or sitcom episodes. I like too, like Roseanne and stuff. But with Christmas, I watch not only the horror stuff, but I love like Home Alone and Charlie Brown and all the Grinch. And all the Christmas. Well, yeah, I know you fucking watch all the Hallmark shit too. So
no, dude,
the same way.
I'm not even ashamed to admit it, man. I will watch the Hallmark and all that shit for like all fucking month, man. I love that shit, dude. It's so funny because every movie's like the exact same, but I can't stop watching it. It's ridiculous. It's so fucking funny to me. But you're right. That like I watch the horror shit and like I'll watch Home Alone, and I have so many Christmas movies that are non-horror and obviously horror related stuff.
Christmas Vacation, fucking
dude, you gotta watch that stuff, man. Like
I love it. I fucking love like Home Alone 1 and 2 are so important for me to watch during the Christmas season. Like I love them so much. They're comforting. They always put me in a good mood. That's why when Dave Z's like, I never watched Home Alone 2, and then he watched it and was talking shit on it because he's like, it's over the top. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's a sequel. It's supposed to be.
You're supposed to see
it's literally the same movie, dude. It's the same fucking movie.
It is the same movie. But I mean, it's a sequel. It's supposed to be a little bit more bonkers, right? I mean, come on.
But those two movies are like so important to me.
Yeah, I watch those every year. We always watch Christmas Vacation while setting up the trees and shit like that. That's another one that has to be on. I usually end up watching it a couple times during the holidays.
Yeah, Christmas Vacation is awesome.
There's just a lot of good Christmas movies, like across all genres compared to most holidays.
There's just so many that I watch, man. Like,
I love Christmas horror and Christmas movies. It's just something about it, man. It just works. It makes me feel so good.
I watch Scrooged every year too with Bill Murray. I love that movie, man. Fuck.
Scrooged.
Yeah, I watched that.
I've only seen that once
a couple years ago.
He's so good in that movie, man. Like it's a great version of the story.
I like Christmas Carol, like all kind of different versions.
Yeah, I like that story. I'm a fan of that.
Yeah, the story is good. I remember reading the story in middle school.
So many versions.
Like a lot.
I did that too.
Mickey's Christmas Carol,
Mickey's Christmas. Mickey's Flintstones Christmas Carol, one of my favorites.
There's a Lifetime one, A Carol Christmas.
That's a good one too. The Flintstones,
with Tori Spelling.
Yeah, the Flintstones one is I don't know, like all those, even Moodz. I know you probably remember the Yogi's First Christmas and you know, there was another one too, another Yogi one that had like, you know, all the Hanna-Barbera characters there on Christmas time. I remember Pac-Man Christmas. Like,
oh, right. That's crazy. I actually have a Casper Christmas movie too. I don't know if I just mentioned it, but yeah, there's a Casper one. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So
there's a lot of movies set on Christmas for like absolutely no reason either.
Oh, tons.
Friday After Next, dog.
Right. Fuck, that movie's so bad.
Inside.
I like it. Cat Williams like crunching on your balls.
I think I actually rewatched it last year too. Maybe it was the year before, but I don't know. I have to check Letterboxd. But I rewatched it. I was like, oh my god. I think it's because Mike Epps just annoys the shit out of me.
Dude, I know. And that's like, I like Next Friday and Friday After Next, but I just don't like Mike Epps. Like, and he almost ruins those movies for me.
He's not funny. He's like Kevin Hart, man. They're not fucking funny.
He's annoying.
I've never found Kevin Hart funny.
I know, but at least Kevin Hart's not annoying. Like, I actually like Kevin Hart when he's not being funny. Well, he's not funny to me, but like Kevin Hart is a good, like Mike Epps is just fucking annoying.
Yeah, especially his Day-Day, bro. Like, Day-Day is fucking annoying. Like,
dude, it's the worst character. I know. It's fucking bad.
Like, everything else in those two movies is great. Like, all the other side characters are great. Like, the baby Joker and stuff. All that stuff is good. Pinky. But Mike Epps just brings him down so much.
Fucking Casper from Kids is in Friday or next Friday.
Next Friday, yeah. Yeah, and he killed himself, too.
Yeah, he died, like, right after that movie, I think.
Yeah. Forgot about that.
Right.
Roach.
Right. Forgot what his name was. But yeah, Halloween. We keep talking about Christmas movies. Fucking hilarious. Oh, man, you know what's crazy, man? So I was on IMDb today, and I saw this list for like Blumhouse. Blumhouse has made 90 movies since 2007.
Holy shit.
Yeah, they were fully ranked. They were just ranked by the IMDb rating. And I was like, fuck, that is crazy. Because like, if you do the math, that's like 5.5 movies a year. So like 5 movies a year. But they didn't really start making a lot of movies until a couple years after Paranormal kind of blew up and stuff like that. But 90 movies Blumhouse has put out in 16 years.
That's kind of crazy, bro.
Dude, that went from like a little small studio to like fucking just they pump out so much shit. It's just crazy. So I actually went through it and like I think there was 17 movies on the list I hadn't seen. So I'd seen like was that 73 then or something like that. I didn't even know some of these movies were even Blumhouse. I'm like scrolling through. I'm like, that was a Blumhouse movie? Crazy. Didn't even know.
That honestly, they have a pretty decent track. The Bay was a fucking Blumhouse movie.
See, this is interesting.
Wow.
So like the top rated Blumhouse movie on this list is Get Out. Yeah, and it has a 7.8. There's only 3 movies out of 90 that have over a 7 rating on IMDb. I know we don't take IMDb ratings serious, but
they're Blumhouse movies.
So Get Out 7.8. Split is number 2, and that's 7.3. And then The Invisible Man, which is 7.1. And number 4 is at 6.9, and that's The Black Phone. And number 5 is Insidious, 6.8. But these scores seem really low. Like even 7.2 for Get Out. It's also because there's probably like 10 million fucking reviews. But it seems really low even for Get Out. That's crazy. But not to have one movie even in the 8s. Crazy.
You know what though, bro? There's actually another list on Rotten Tomatoes that ranks them by the tomato meter.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit different. But Get Out is number 1 on it as well. with a 97% fresh.
Wow.
98% fresh.
See, now that seems a little bit more realistic to me than a 7.8.
Yeah.
Right.
And Megan is number 2, which is crazy, with a 93% fresh.
That surprises me. It's like, the thing is, though, it's just like, it's all it is did you like it or not? There's no levels.
Right. Yeah, Megan on this list is actually number 18. There's some good movies on here. Like, I don't know if I put Split at number 2. Like, it's just crazy. Like, I can't believe how highly rated that is. Like, but even Sinister is number 6 on here. Oddly enough, Totally Killer is number 7 on this list. But you got to remember, this is IMDb ratings.
What?
Glass is number 8. But number 9,
Creep and Creep 2. Those are both great.
Yeah, like Happy Death Day is at number 9, and I hated that fucking movie.
Yeah, I did not care for that.
Hush is number 10, which I really liked. Halloween 18, which is number 11. Fuck. Insidious 2, Oculus, The Hunt, Creep 2, which is good. I don't know what Don't Let Go is. I don't think I saw it.
I think Oculus should be higher.
Like the Purge movies, I completely forgot that those are Blumhouse.
I think Oculus is pretty good.
I hate the Purge movies.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of them either.
I could not stand the first one. I don't really like any of them.
No, the first one is a total cop-out because the ending makes literally no fucking sense.
Like,
the stupidest cop-out I've ever seen.
Dude, Lords of Salem was a Blumhouse movie?
What it was like they were upset that like the rich person that sold them like security systems so the other rich people could be safe were like mad that he got more rich. Yeah. Like that's what it was, right? That was the motivation.
It's fucking stupid, man. I know
there's some really bad ones in here too.
But I didn't realize the Town that was Blumhouse. I didn't realize that was a Blumhouse film.
What was?
The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
Yeah, and Lords of Salem.
Yeah,
I like Lords of Salem a lot. That's my favorite Rob Zombie movie.
One of the worst movies I've seen in the last couple of years is Run, Sweetheart, Run. I even mentioned that too. I was like, fuck, for a Blumhouse. Like, I've seen a lot of Blumhouse movies, and that movie was fucking trash.
I don't know. One of the worst ones on here is Firestarter.
Actually, it's one of the ones I haven't seen. I was like, fuck, I'm not going to watch the remake of fuck. I'm not even a big fan of the original.
Martyrs as well.
And that's another one I haven't seen. I haven't seen a remake of Martyrs because I was like, what the fuck? Like, we don't need a dumbed down American version of Martyrs. Martyrs is fucking classic.
It's literally exactly what it was. It didn't add anything to it.
I can't bring myself to watch the remake of Martyrs. I think like Martyrs is like one of those.
Man, The Exorcist Believer actually has a 5 on here. Like, what the fuck? That movie's fucking trash.
Also, Black Christmas is pretty trash.
I wouldn't say pretty trash. In fact, Black Christmas remake isn't even a movie. It's a 92-minute propaganda film of hating men. See, the problem is with Black Christmas 2019 is that, like, this is actually the problem with making these type of woke fucking, social commentary type films, is that sometimes you lose the aspect of what you're supposed to be doing when making a film, which is entertaining somebody. Like, there's no entertainment value in this movie. It's literally just 92 minutes of propaganda. It's fucking horrible. It's not a movie. I don't care what anyone says.
You're not allowed to question it.
I thought it was,
but it's not
like atrocious. And you know what? The sad
just
part
done so poorly.
It's actually shot kind of good. Like, there's actually some good camera work in it, but it's just so annoying, dude.
Dude, there's a right and a wrong way to do social commentary films, and this is the wrong way. You're just pushing the fact, you're shoving it down your fucking throat constantly. It's like these fucking, I've mentioned this before too. It's like when you're making these retro films. So you're making this modern film in 2023 and it's set in 1987. And you keep reminding the viewer that it's the 80s over and over and over again. Why do you have to do that when we already fucking know it's set in the 80s? Stop overdoing it. You don't need to do it. You tell us once what the year is, whatever the fuck it is, and then move on. Like Black Christmas, they just can't stop shoving it down your fucking throat. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. It's one of the worst. Like Blumhouse,
I feel like I have to watch this now.
Honestly, Blumhouse has a pretty good they don't put out like,
there's way more movies that I like than don't like it on
probably out of the 73 movies I've seen, like, let's face it, like I like actually all the paranormal movies, which is so shocking to me because
they are all good.
It's crazy. Well, it's the fucking narrative that's so consistent. It's crazy. Like, I just can't believe what they did with that franchise, but they do put out, besides the Purge movies, which I can't really fucking stand. But overall, Blumhouse is pretty hit and miss because, like, you got Exorcist Believer, you got Green Inferno, which I couldn't stand.
But then you got stuff like Creep and Creep 2, which are honestly great.
Yeah, really, really good. Like, and then Curve I thought sucked, but the Insidious films are really good. Viral I thought was a total miss. Run Sweetheart Run was
The Visit's
was trash.
good.
I don't like the new Halloween movies. Unfriended was really good. I like The Town That Dreaded Sundown. Sequel, not remake, by the way.
Freaky was really fun.
I didn't see that one.
Ma was okay. Like
Ma was good.
You know, like there's some decent movies in here. Cam I thought was pretty cool. Fucking
Viral was all right.
Bloodline I didn't mind.
The Belko Experiment was decent. Not like amazing, but
Ouija, Origin of Evil, the second one was really good. That was surprisingly good.
even like Dash Cam, I didn't like as much when I watched it, but I kind of like in hindsight.
Oh, Dash Cam was fucking I wanted to punch my fucking TV watching that, or my computer. My God, I hate that. That thing was so frustrating to watch. First of all, the lead character was so annoying. You think Day-Day's annoying?
The end credit rapping was like kind of funny to me.
Was the best part of the whole movie.
Maybe that's just what I rember being good.
It's so funny too, because that was like a total freestyle, right? Like she just like
and it was actually like it was kind of funny.
But her character was so annoying, mixed in with the really bad camera work and just
you're right. It wasn't good.
Nothing made sense in the movie, and like it was just it was one of those movies experiences where I wanted to fucking hurt myself, which is not good. Movies shouldn't make you want to hurt yourself, right?
You know what we should do is on the next show or another show, we should actually go through all of them and put if it's good or bad and see what their percentage of good bad is.
Right. Yeah, we should. Yeah.
Just to see like
and
how many good, how many bad.
The reason why this came up for me, because I was on the Totally Killer IMDb page and I saw the list for this and I clicked on it. I was like, what? They made 90 fucking movies? I was just blown away by the number. I couldn't fucking believe it. But but you're right. Like, but I scrolling through, like, how many movies has A24 made? Like in their, like, how long have they been a company for?
I'd probably say like,
honestly, they've made 40? A lot of movies, but like they have a lot that
But they haven't been a company as long as like when did A24 start up? I can't recall.
I want to say like probably mid 2010s. I'm not really sure though.
Right, like it hasn't even been around. Maybe 10 years, if that. Like I couldn't.
Let's just say 10.
Yeah, and they've maybe put out maybe a third of the movies. Like Blumhouse is doing
134 for A24.
I was going to say like A24 has probably put out more.
Oh my God.
They put out
That's
a lot
actually
of indie.
Kind of crazy.
I think
they put out a lot of indie movies, and they're not really like Blumhouse, where Blumhouse does more production work.
Right,
the A24 is more of like, all right, sure, we'll give you like for example, like the Safdie brothers, like, okay, we'll give you $1 million, go do what you want, and they went and made Good Time.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah, I never really looked at like, because I used to be one of those guys that was always so concerned about what production company was handling the film I was watching and stuff like that. And I really got out of that in the last like 10 years. Like I don't really look at it like that anymore. Like even watching, I can't remember. I was watching the other day. I was like, oh, this is MGM. I'm like, oh, that's an MGM film. I think it was Dark Harvest. I think it was MGM or something like that. I was like, that's crazy. But
they A24 does a lot of like non-horror stuff as well.
Yeah,
like a lot. Like half of their shit is non-horror.
Most of their stuff isn't horror.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. And I was thinking horror because I was like, when you said 130, I was like, that can't be all horror.
And like some of these movies too, like you wouldn't even realize they're A24. They're like just like Oscar movies. So it's weird. Like sometimes at the same company that put out like Talk to Me, like also put out The Favorite, also put out Moonlight.
Right.
Yeah, it looks like they've been around since 2012, 2013.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about right. Yeah, okay. Interesting. But yeah, like, but still, I just can't get over the Blumhouse 90 fucking movies. Fucking crazy, dude. But I guess they have like what, 5 or 6 franchises going in there?
Yeah.
Like they got.
But I bet you Blumhouse is way more profitable than A24.
Probably, yeah. Well, yeah. They got fucking the Halloween franchise, Insidious franchise.
Like most of, like I bet you, like more than 2/3 of the movies, like went into theaters.
And I mean that's 4 franchises right there, and they got a bunch of shit that's working on trilogies. Like aren't they making another Happy Death Day movie too?
I think so. Like, but
I thought I read
Freaky actually. Like I don't know if I think they even said they might cross over like Freaky and Happy Death Day or some shit.
Oh, for fuck's sakes! God, Happy Death Day.
The Blumhouse universe.
That is one of the worst experiences I've had in it. Like besides the first Annabelle movie, like, oh my God, dude. I just wanted to, I wanted to hurt myself. Like it was so fucking bad. I don't understand the fucking love for that shit, man. It's weird.
I don't mind it. I think it's all right.
Well, I heard from people that the second one was better. I was like, really? I'm like, it's still not going to get me to watch it. Fuck that shit. Just fucking, yeah, whatever. Okay, so are we still recording the show? Because
yeah.
Wow, that seemed like a really long intro. Like really long intro. All right, so do you guys want to wrap this up and get into some reviews or what?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that's going to do it for the intro, and we'll be back in a minute here with some Halloween reviews. Yeah.
Yo, who this?
Yo, Moodz, it's your boy, the ill-mannered funky child, calling you to remind you that the featured reviews on this episode contain spoilers.
Aw, yeah, man, that's right, brother. Thanks for the heads up, playa. Now go back to being an unproductive asshole.
Fuck you. I tell your listeners to stop being so dumb, silly, sensitive.
Yeah.
And now, our feature presentation.
All right, so getting into the featured reviews here on episode 242, the Halloween special. We're going to take it all the way back to 2022 with the sequel to The Barn Part 2, directed by Justin M. Seaman. That name's awesome. He also did the first one. Yeah, and we reviewed the first one, and the consensus around here is most people aren't the biggest fan of The Barn, except for me. I absolutely love the first Barn. But so The Barn Part 2, quick little synopsis here. The Halloween ban is now lifted in Helens Valley, and the sorority girls of Gamma Pi, I get place Michelle in charge of their annual haunted house. Unfortunately for Michelle, some invited trick-or-treaters from her past come knocking. Quite literally. So The Barn Part 2. So we reviewed The Barn, I'm not sure what, a couple years back? I want to maybe last year? Was it last year that we did it?
The first Barn?
It was a little couple years ago.
It was like 3 years. It was 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, fuck, man. These years fly by, but yeah. So The Barn Part 2. The first thing I noticed about watching, and this is the first time I watched it, actually, was just for the show here, and I was really anticipating the sequel because I'm a big fan of the first one. But you can tell that this one definitely had a little bit more budget. It had a ton of backers on this one. They exceeded their goals and stuff, as you can tell, because this one right away looks better. It just doesn't look as gritty. This one looks a little bit more polished. It also sounds better. So the overall production value of this film was astounding to me when I first popped in. I was like, holy shit, this just looks and sounds so much better than the first film. I can see why people are probably liking this one a little bit more. But, in my opinion, this sequel actually does everything that a true sequel should do, from a first film. And I'll elaborate on that a little bit here. I feel like it has the appropriate continuity to the film. This one takes place about 3 years after the events of the first one, and what it does, it brings back some characters, and it also it kind of ups the ante. I feel like the body count in this one's a lot higher. So we get the original 3 monsters, but it also introduces a couple new monster characters. We get like this pig man, and we get like this crow thing, I guess, which is kind of a weird one. So it adds a little bit more.
The corn cob guy.
Yeah, the corn cob. So it adds a little bit more monsters, which is what a sequel should do and stuff like that. But it also elaborates on the lore and gives us backstory, especially to the boogeyman, in a great cameo appearance from
Doug Bradley.
From Doug Bradley. Sorry, I was about to cough. From Doug Bradley, and which is like is an appropriate thing for a sequel to do. It does, in my opinion, it's doing everything right in this aspect here. And I was really hoping that they were going to, but I was a little bit surprised that they only really kind of gave you the backstory on the boogeyman. But I was also thinking to myself after I watched the film, I was like, you know what? Maybe they'll give some backstory to the other characters in the other sequels. They're just kind of saving that shit. But But yeah, my first impressions of the barn, I was like, wow, this is definitely a lot. It just upped the ante from the first film.
It's more polished for sure.
That's what I'm saying. Like it was edited better. The cinematography was better. It was cleaned up. It sounded better, but it just, I felt even for like a film, it runs its normal to like an hour, 34 minutes, whatever. I thought the pacing was good, but they did everything that a sequel should do. Like I said, up the body count, characters, lore. It added all these elements and stuff like that. And I thought it was overall pretty well done. So what are you guys' thoughts on the barn?
So I saw this at a theater, which was cool. The first barn, I was more in the middle between you and Dave. Dave didn't really care for it too much. You liked it a lot. I was just okay on it. One thing that I liked right away with the barn too is like the stuff you were mentioning is I just felt like Justin has gotten better as a filmmaker. Yeah. Like he progressed, which is what you want to see when you watch these movies, these indie films. And I like that. I think that it looks more of a professional movie, which helps it. Whereas like the first barn looked a lot more like indie, like shoestring budget. Yeah. This one actually feels like more of a actual movie. And I'm not saying the barn first one isn't an actual movie either. It is. I'm just saying like this looks like something you would see more in the mainstream than the first barn. I like all the cameos. It's cool that Ari Lehman's back. Of course, like Darcy and Joe Bob. Lloyd Kaufman was funny in it. There's actually a character in the film that when the two girls are in the room like doing the pillow fight and the nerdy dude comes in, you know who that is, Tyler?
What part was it?
The two girls doing like the pillow fight in the room, and then the nerdy dude comes in, they get naked and stuff.
Oh, so I don't remember, but when this person came in, I was like, I know this guy. This guy looks so familiar.
He was the star in Bathtub Shark Attack.
Yeah, that's what I was literally gonna like message Carly and ask. Is that the same guy that was in Bathtub Shark Attack? He was the standout for me in Bathtub Shark Attack too, so that makes sense. I just thought I was gonna like ask, and then I just thought it was like, oh no, there's no way it would be that guy.
Yeah. So he's and that's cool. Like that.
That's cool. That's really good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing that was one thing
I noticed. One of the girls on the bed she's not credited in the credits. Is the girl from Don't Fuck in the Woods?
Oh, really? From the first one?
Yeah.
Oh,
the
shit.
One,
okay.
Like Brittany Bland, I think's her name. I just know because she like I
couldn't place her.
The movie last year.
I couldn't place her because I was like, where is she from? And I never looked into it. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay.
It says her name at the beginning. And that's where I recognized her from, but her name's like not like in the credits, like on Letterboxd or anything.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. And, going back to the whole cameo thing, I was like, this is, going back to like, the barn as a sequel doing everything right. Like, I feel like they handled their cameo appearances in here proper too. Like, this is kind of like how you do cameos. I wouldn't consider Ari Lehman's to be a cameo because he's just reprising his role from the first one with Dr. Rock. Yeah. But I think he's pretty solid in the film. Like he's got a little bit more here. He's got more lines and stuff. And I think he's pretty solid overall. Lloyd Kaufman.
And I actually like his Halloween speech, like let the kids have their thing. Like,
yeah,
he's actually pretty good.
He does really well. He does actually really well. And I think Lloyd's Lloyd. He does good as the mayor. And Leanna Quigley plays like this religious kind of nut. And I thought that she was good in the film and stuff. But really, of course, Joe Bob was fine in her role. I was surprised to see his sidekicks show her boobs in the film. Like, I was like, what? Really? That was crazy. But anyways, but yeah, Doug Bradley steals the show here. And I got to mention this because talking about doing cameos properly, this is exactly how you don't waste a cameo. If you're going to get someone like Doug Bradley,
do something with them.
You do something with them, but you also put them in a very important part in the film too, if you want that backstory and elaborate on the lore of these characters and stuff. So Doug Bradley's brought in to basically tell the backstory of the boogeyman, which is the miner. And he tells this whole story. And the scene goes on for like 10 minutes. And he's really, really fucking good. He's so natural at telling the story. It's like he was there. It was like he did a really fucking good job. And then after the scene ended, I started laughing to myself, and I'm like, you know what's so crazy about that fucking scene is that Doug Bradley had more lines in that scene than he actually had in Hellraiser. And he had more screen time in that scene than the whole Hellraiser movie. Because when we reviewed Hellraiser, like, he's only on screen for 7.5 minutes in the whole movie. This scene runs longer than that. He's got more lines. I'm like, and then of course he ends the whole scene with, go raise some hell or something like that. It's corny, but it's funny. It's a nice little shout out to Hellraiser. But I think Doug Bradley like steals the show in the cameos here. Like, it's just exactly how you don't waste a cameo appearance. But fuck me if he was, just more screen time than Pinhead. It's just funny as hell to me.
It was probably more screen time than like Hellraiser 5 through 8. Like,
totally. But we always joked about it because, like, you think that Pinhead is in the movie a lot more in Hellraiser, but when we broke it down, and like, there's actually, you can look it up and shit, like, he's literally on screen for like under 8 minutes in the whole movie, and he's like the face. Yeah, and he only has like something, like, he says like 40 words in the movie or something like that. It's crazy. Barely speaks. He's barely even on screen. And then you look at this movie, he's in there for 10 minutes. Like,
I've always looked at like 2 as like more of like the big, like the Cenobite movie.
Yeah, right. Pretty interesting. But yeah, Doug Bradley was fantastic in this movie. Really, really good job. So, Tyler, what are your thoughts?
What would you think, Tyler?
Yeah.
Because you watched the first one too for this.
Yep, I watched them back to back. I'm about where you are at the first one. Like, I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was great. But it's it's an indie movie. It's like, it's entertaining enough. Like, it had a couple cameos and it had some heart into it. I think the second one is a little bit of, and not only in filmmaking, like you guys said, but just in general, I think it's a bit more of a step up. My only complaint, like, relative to the first one I would have on this is, like, when it kind of gets to a part where it just, like, stalls and it just kind of, like, kill after kill without really moving the story along for a little bit, where I felt like the first one had more of, like, a story I was a little bit more interested in overall.
Yeah. I think the first one's a little bit more mysterious, too, because you don't really know anything about these characters at all. And this one, we get the story of the boogeyman. But, actually, the one negative for me about the Barn 2, going back to like the monsters and stuff, is that, so they introduced these 2 new characters, like this crow thing and fucking this like pig character and shit, but they really didn't utilize them much in the film. Like, the pig character kind of shows up when they introduce him, and then he shows up towards the end and then gets killed and stuff. But like, why, like, they didn't really utilize them that much in the film. Did you guys notice that? Like, it was weird. They brought in these new characters, but they didn't really use them as much as they could. But they did introduce an interesting thing, like the crow cob thing, whatever you want to call it. Has like this weird ability to basically syringe something out of it and like create like zombies and shit out of it, which was a kind of an interesting element to the film, which I thought was just totally out of left field to do this, because the first film really solely focuses on the 3, our 3 main villains. And this one,
it's kind of like a special ability, kind of like, in the first one when that guy had the ability to like regenerate, like in the pumpkins, and that's why they had to smash it. But it's kind of like his version of his special ability. Right.
But I feel like they're just creating like an army in this one. Like, they have the ability to create zombies. Yeah. So like, why not create this huge army to defeat all the humans, kind of thing. But I kind of like that aspect, because it not only turned into like a straight up kind of monster film, it turned into like a zombie film too. It had these totally different elements to it. And I liked the zombies in it too. I thought it was kind of a nice touch, because it really does up the body count in this film, like, drastically.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, right? If that's like a big like up, like, selling point for you in a movie like this, and this is definitely something like you'd like more than the first one. I thought they just made a really good use out of the cameos in general. Like, I love that scene when Linnea Quigley, when they were like, when she was like, "Father, forgive us, we are about to sin."
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, I mean, the movie does a lot of really good things, man. Like, it flew by for me. I was having so much fun with the movie and shit.
I thought the acting was much stronger in this one as well compared to the first film.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
And just like the fact that they brought back some characters that may or may have not died in the first film, kind of thing. You know what I mean? But like, I mean, it was kind of, I was kind of expecting something, because you don't really know what happens, right? The first one. But I mean, I thought it was kind of cool. I thought it was kind of cool what they did with it. So But I mean, they definitely set it up for a third one too. And this movie just feels like a totally different ball game for Justin Seaman. Like he really stepped everything up in this one. Another negative to the film, which isn't really a negative, but which was Rocky Gray's score, which isn't as good as the first movie, but it's still pretty 80s kind of synthy and shit like that in here. It's still pretty good, but I think the first movie's score is so much better. It's just amazing. But
one thing you also absolutely have to respect about this movie is this movie has the balls to kill kids on screen. Not once, but twice.
Right. Does. Isn't that so you watched The Barn and then the sequel right after? So like when you popped in the sequel and you get the recap with the campfire story at the beginning, you're just like, shit, I just fucking watched this movie.
It kind of catches it up to speed that like now like the characters are missing, that it's years later. So it serves its purpose. It's a good way just to get it's kind of like the same thing in like The Fog, or it's just like it's a cool way to get the movie rolling.
Dude, I love opening scenes where they're like describing like what happened in the past and shit. Like, I love that stuff, man.
Yeah,
like,
I was actually anticipating this movie just to pick up like right where the first one left off,
and it pretty much does, right? Like it tells you straight up that it's like, it's 3 years later technically, right? So, but it had to have been because Halloween was fucking cut off. Like there was nothing going on and shit, and the ban was lifted and stuff. So then, but I like how they got the monsters to reiterate themselves into the narrative, and because when they set up their haunt at this place and stuff, they got the guests to, when they showed up to the house, to knock and say trick or treat. It's like as simple as that, but like it works, shit like that. People are like, oh, it's kind of corny, but I think it works, and it's exactly what they needed to do to get the monsters back. So it's pretty cool. But I thought the effects were really good in this too. Like there's some pretty good kills. It's fucking gory and it's bloody and shit like that. Body count is crazy high in this. Crazy high.
Yeah, it did feel really high.
The body count at like I said, that was like almost kind of like a weight for me that they kind of just like went into body count land for a portion of the film. But if that's more of a selling point, then it definitely upped the ante a lot for that.
And there's some nasty shit too. Like the one zombie when he rips off the doctor's dick, like he fucking rips his dick off and shit. I'm just like,
I was not expecting that.
No, I was like, oh, I actually rewound it. I'm like, did that zombie just bite off his dick?
Yeah,
I said it out loud to myself. I was like, he just bit off his fucking dick. I'm like, oh my god, that's ridiculous.
And he bites off that girl's nipple.
It's ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, I mean, honestly, really, really fucking fun movie. Like I had a
super simple movie, but like there's more lore. I was actually very, as someone that wasn't like a big fan of the first one, I was very happy to see that this one progressed, and I think Moodz nailed it at the beginning where he said that it does everything that a sequel is supposed to do. I think that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, and that's that. I mean, exactly, and I think it didn't overdo it. Like it didn't waste so much time with telling the backstories of like Hollow Jack and the other characters and stuff. They're just there. Because I kept thinking to myself, I'm like, if they do a part 3, which I don't see why he wouldn't, because, if he's going to make this, part 3 should be pretty good too. Why not just save some of that mythology and that lore for the third one with these other characters and shit like that? Why not? Right. So I think it's kind of cool. So, but yeah, there was a mid credit scene for the people out there that have a Blu-ray and press stop right when the credits roll. I always find that so funny, man. When I'm in the theater and I look up on Google or whatever, I'm like, is there a post-credit scene for this movie and shit like that? And it'll be like yes or no. And so if there is, I'll stay, and like everybody, I'm always the last person in the theater. I'm like the only one that ever sees the fucking credit scenes.
Yeah, I'll do that too. I always look up and see if there is something just so I'd know, to sit around. Like I did with Saw 10.
Right.
I just leave.
Really? You didn't see the credit scene in Saw?
Nah, I'll look it up online if I feel like it.
What?
Yeah, I just leave. I'm like, I'm not waiting.
It's like one of my favorite parts of it.
I got places to be.
It usually gives me time to finish off my drink and my popcorn or something like that. I'm just like, okay, I got like a couple minutes.
I also have a problem where it's like I get my drink and then I drink the whole thing like halfway through the movie, and I'm just waiting for the credits so I can go take a leak.
Dude, I always freaking eat all my popcorn before while the fucking trailers.
I miss back in the day when you could like get a refill like before the movie started. If you ate your popcorn before the movie started, you could go get a free refill.
I think they still do that, but I think they do I'm not leaving in the middle of the movie to get
I don't know if they do. I don't know if they do that anymore at my cinema. I'm not sure.
Like the thing is too is like they saw me going there alone. I can't go back out there and be like, "Can I have some more?"
Right, I just ate this all in fucking 10 minutes. Yeah.
Can I have some more?
Dude, I fucking laughed so hard, man, when that fucking hybrid monster came out of this thing, man. I was like, oh my God, the mouth on that thing is so funny.
Oh yeah, the triple-headed John.
Yeah, the hybrid monster, man. It just looked so funny, man. That was cool. That was a pretty cool prop that they created for that.
And that reminded me of something really 80s. Like that's something you would see in like the end of a Critters movie or something, you know?
Right.
Goalies.
And you know, and that's another thing, like going back to, you know, how these movies, these modern movies that are set in the 80s and stuff like that, it doesn't constantly remind you that it's set in the fucking... In fact, I don't even think it ever tells you a specific year. I think we talked about that in the original Barn too, right? They don't actually tell you exactly what year it is. You just know it's set in the 80s based on the soundtrack and
cell phones. I remember even thinking about that when I first watched the Barn. Like, you wouldn't know this is 1989 unless, like, if they didn't tell you.
Right. And yeah, it's cool. You know the I think it's one of the first kills in the movie with the marshmallow. Like that, didn't that shit just remind you of like straight up, like if they had done this movie in 3D, that would have been like a perfect 3D kill. Yeah, like, because it comes right at the screen. Like, I'm wondering if they were like originally going, oh fuck, maybe we'll do this shit in 3D, and then they just decided to scrap it because like who the fuck wants to watch 3D, man? Lame. But yeah, that shit just like was like booyah right in your face, like total 3D kill, man. I was like, that's pretty cool. As long as it's actually not in 3D. I like shit like that. But oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention. So what do they call it? What do they call the movie store in the film? It's a dude's real collection. I think he's got YouTube videos and shit like that. So whatever the name of the video store is that they shot at for the film. You know the part I'm talking about when they go to the movie store?
Yeah.
So it's a dude's collection. Like I think he's got YouTube videos and stuff. And I guess Justin Steven, he had contacted the guy about filming in there, and he originally turned him down, and then he told him it was for this movie and shit like that, and he allowed him to do it and stuff. But yeah, I've actually seen that whole video store before. Like I think it's on YouTube or something like that. Man, it's crazy. It's fucking sweet, man. But I love like the shameless promotion in there. They had like all the Scream team releasing movies and stuff in there. Like just obviously placed perfectly. Like the Witching Hour was in there, and there was like a bunch of other ones and shit. It's pretty cool. But I love seeing old retro video stores like that with all the Friday the 13th covers and all the original tapes and shit. That's fucking awesome. I mean, it's just nice touches like that really kind of bring out, you know, the nostalgia factor and also telling you it's the 80s without shoving it down your face, like giving years like it's 1987. Like fuck off with that shit.
Right.
But they do it properly. They do it properly, man. It's a nice little touch. It's really quick. It's like a 2-3 minute scene, and it's just good shit, man. Good shit. But definitely a really fun movie. I was really taken back by, I just can't get over how it looked and how it sounded and shit like that. I was like, wow, this is like a totally different type of movie. And then, so I'm watching the credits and I was like, okay, I wonder if there's a post-credit scene. And then I got to the backers on it. And right away when I saw backers, I was like, we're going to see Matt's name in there, Matt Cantor, because he backs like everything, right? He's always a backer on every fucking movie, which AKA you and your horror movies, good friend of the show. And of course, I saw his name. I saw a bunch of people's names in there. I recognized some people's names in there we won't mention on this show because they're not too friendly with us anymore, but I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, there was lots of people in there that I recognized and shit. So, but there was like fucking 100. There must have been like 1,000 backers or something, man. Maybe even more than that. Did you guys actually watch the credits and shit? Probably not, right?
Nope.
I think I did the first time I watched it, but I don't think I did this time.
Yeah, but if I remember that it was like an Indiegogo thing or whatever, I'll watch that. And it's always the same people in there. Like I recognize so many fucking names from every fucking indie movie. They just these people, they just back everything. Yeah. And it's funny too, because I remember I even told you guys, or like definitely you, JP, that I wanted to back on this movie, and I completely spaced on it and forgot. And when I finally remembered, I went to the website and the campaign had already ended and they met their goal. It was like way past and stuff like that. And I was like, oh fuck, I missed the fucking campaign. So that sucked. But so my name would have been in there, but no go because I'm an idiot. I suck. Yeah. So, but
one time I backed a movie and I was supposed to name a character in the movie, and they ripped me off.
What's that?
They ripped him off. They never let him name the character.
Oh, really? That's so lame.
Yeah.
Every campaign I've ever contributed to, the movie never got made, and I've been ripped off every time. So I don't even.
I donated $100 to name a character, and they just were like, "Thanks for your money. We're gonna never contact you."
What movie?
Dude, do you? Bro,
what movie was it?
The one that I still wait. What are you saying?
What movie was that?
What was like cool? It was a Cool Duder movie.
Was it the Amityville one? Maybe
it was. Yeah, well, I think it was an. I don't know. Honestly, I think it was an
fucking Cool Duder ripped you off.
Cool Duder ripped me off.
You remember this, Moodz. You were around for this.
See, now this is legit. Now this is legit because Jeremy hated Cool Duder for so unknown reasons. Now you being Freeman too have a legit reason to actually hate Cool Duder. This is fucking hilarious.
Well, it comes full circle because he was going to name the character Jeremy.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's right. That's fucking. Now you remember the whole. Okay, this is great.
Yeah,
but he got ripped off, dude.
Dude, that is so ridiculous. Like, what the? So Sean C. Phillips fucking rips people off. That's crazy.
Yeah, it might have not been him. It was probably his campaign manager. I'm sure.
Why would you rip somebody off for something as simple as just giving the character a name? Like, why wouldn't you let the person do that? It's literally a fucking name. Who cares?
Not worth their time.
Oh my god, it's like so stupid.
Yeah, that's horrible. And dude, it's funny because like every year for like Italian horror month, not every year, but we were like following Dario Argento's Sandman movie that never fucking got made ever.
So I was like, all right, we'll give him another whack at one of these.
It's so messed up because I think it was fully funded, right?
Which one was this?
Dario Argento's The Sandman.
It was. Yep.
Yeah, dude. It just never, like, nothing ever happened with it.
No. And then like all of a sudden years later, remember we were like fucking poking around and shit. We're like, he has a new movie coming out called Dark Glasses, and then it got made, and like I legit have the Blu-ray, and I'm like, what the fuck happened to the Sandman movie? Like,
yeah, I'm looking at it.
I remember thinking that same thing. Like when that came out, I was like, oh, I guess I never made that Sandman movie.
1,082 backers. So 1,082 people gave money to this film.
That's a lot of people.
It made $195,000.
Dude, that's like federal fucking that penitentiary time. Like that's a lot of money, dude.
Yeah, dude. And it literally never
materialized. You know what he did? He took that fucking money and he made Dark Glasses.
Yeah, he changed the name.
I honestly don't even think that he had that
maybe
he was involved in the
maybe
campaign.
It was a total fucking like it was just a scam thing. Like maybe Argento never even fucking knew about it. Like who knows with that? Like how do you
maybe it was just some guy named Dario.
Was there not a bigger like I never really fully looked into it, but there had to have been a bigger backlash. Like there's so many people that put money into this. You think one or two people would like try to file a lawsuit or something like that? Like you think
the last update was 6 years ago. That said, "Dear funders, movie posters have been signed by the Maestro. We're now arranging for them to be shipped to us from Rome. Once they arrive, we will package them up individually and have them sent to you. The process should take a few weeks. If you're a supporter who has purchased a poster, you'll be notified when the posters have shipped." I wish we can get like we could talk to somebody who was a backer on this, because like I'm curious if anything was ever sent, like any of the posters or anything.
That would have been the one that I backed too, because I get ripped off every fucking time. Wow, that is just mind blowing that there wasn't a bigger thing. Because, dude, it's not like, you know, they had these backers and they raised, you know, $6,000 to make this indie film. It's like $200,000, man. That's a lot of fucking money. That is really crazy shit, dude. Crazy. It's conspiracy,
it's nuts, dude.
It's a conspiracy, man.
Well, I guess we should rate the barn.
Oh shit.
Oh yeah, we were talking about the barn part 2. Yeah, man. I love the
barn, right?
Man. The artwork is so great on it too, man. That's one thing about a lot of Scream Team and shit. Like they have really good artwork. They do really good shit, man. Who wants to go first? JP, let's start with you. What did you give the original barn?
I think I gave it a 6.
What did I give the original barn?
Probably an 8 if I was just guessing.
I can't remember.
I give the barn part 2 a 7. So it's a better movie.
Yeah. Tyler. Mr. Saucedo.
I have the original barn a 5.5.
That's what I figured.
And I give this one a 6.
Really?
That's probably what I would have predicted for you.
I think it's a little better. I think this one's good. It's an enjoyable movie, but I think it's just good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this, man. Like as much as I love the first one, like it's kind of on par for like my enjoyment, but this is definitely like a well-made indie film. It's way better than the first one. But yeah, I think it's solid. I'll give this one like an 8.5. It's solid. It's really solid. I just wish the score was, man, I was like so looking forward to it. And I was like, this is pretty good. It's pretty good. This is not as iconic. Well, iconic. I used the word iconic for the barn score. No, it's just not as good as the first one, but in my opinion. Anyways, that is the Barn Part Dux from 2022.
22 shots.
All right, so getting into the second featured film here. From 2023 comes the lamely titled Dark Harvest. Seriously. Why would you call your movie fucking Dark Harvest? Like, there's so many movies with this title. Like, even if you named it just Harvest, I would have had way more respect for the title. It was just called Harvest. I mean, come on. Anyways, quick little synopsis. In a small Midwestern town, a deadly annual ritual unfolds when the mythical nightmare Sawtooth Jack rises from the cornfields and challenges the town's teenage boys in a bloody battle of survival. All right, so first off, this movie is directed by David Slade, who we have talked about on the show. I don't know if did we ever reviewed any of his movies, but we have talked about David Slade. David Slade started out making like music videos and stuff. And of course he ended up directing Hard Candy in 2005, which is a really good,
he made Hard Candy? That's cool.
Yeah, it's a really good rape revenge type film, pedophile fucking, yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah, I've seen Hard Candy. It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's really good. And then he did 30 Days a Night, which I've always enjoyed. I love the atmosphere. I love the setting of the movie.
30 Days a Night's good.
I think it has such a clever...
Oh, he did a Twilight movie.
Yes, that's the one. That's the one. I knew that we reviewed. I knew that we reviewed one of them. But yeah, 30 Days a Night has such an incredible premise. It's scary. Yeah, and then he did the shitty ass Twilight Eclipse movie, which was trash bags. And this guy's got a weird fucking. He did like a bunch of like TV shit and stuff, and he came back with Dark Harvest. Such a strange thing. He did a segment in Nightmare Cinema. Yeah, he's all over the place. So, I mean, overall, I like David Slade as a director. Like, he's done a couple movies that are pretty good and stuff like that. So my first impressions of Dark Harvest, I was like half an hour into this movie, and I was like, man, this movie feels like it's a mashup of like Children of the Corn, Pumpkinhead meets The Outsiders. Like, that's all I could think of. We got greasers, we got corn, we got fucking a Pumpkinhead type character. And I'm like, this is crazy. The movie just felt so familiar to me. And I'll be honest, like, I wasn't really expecting anything much out of this movie based off the title alone. I'm just like, I mean, this movie's probably going to be super lame because it's got a lame fucking title. I know that's very just silly to say, but sometimes it just works out like that, you know? But to my amazement, the narrative was a lot different than I was expecting. And it was also a timepiece, like a period piece. This movie's set in 1963, so like 60 years ago. So set in the 60s, you don't see a lot of horror films that are set in this time, in this era, which I thought right there was kind of a win for me. I'm like, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool setting. And then they get into this narrative where basically this creature kind of like gets born out of this cornfield, and then they have to kill it before the stroke of midnight on Halloween, or the creature basically annihilates their way of living, which is their crops, and kills people and all this type of shit. So the boys of the town, they have to fight against this creature, and then they start to learn things that they really don't want to find out and stuff like that. And it's I thought it was interesting, but I do have a little bit of issues with it. So what are your guys' first initial thoughts on this one? We'll start with Saucedo.
Okay, so regarding the title, maybe this is just how my brain works, but I knew it was like set in the 60s, and because of the title Dark Harvest, I was like, this is going to be a play on the lottery. I guarantee this is going to be a play on the lottery, like the short story, The Lottery, and right. It 100% was. And by the time I realized it was like a half hour in, and I knew exactly where it was going.
But is it really though?
It's not the same thing. It's a very clear readaptation, but it's the same thing where it's like, instead of what, like, you're not actually winning anything, like you're not winning, you're like the loser now. Like you're not actually winning anything, like you're the
the lottery is like, it's like a bad thing.
Yeah. So like I had a feeling that's exactly where it was going, but I didn't really care for this movie that much. I thought it was really nice looking. I enjoyed just the set design. I like the filter and the cinematography. Like, it really, that part was like really atmospheric, but I kind of really didn't care for the narrative much. I thought like the whole run thing was just like so ambiguous that by like the time you really figured out what the run was, I was kind of like already in the direction where I felt like I knew where this movie was going, and it kind of just was like an eye roll for me at that point.
Yeah.
The creature, maybe if I like was seeing something like this the first time, I would have thought it looked better, but to me it just looked like he like put Sam's head on Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just there were some cool kills. There's some nice like cinematography and all that, but I wasn't really invested in like any of the characters. I didn't feel like anybody like really like made like any form of uniqueness or anything memorable about their role. I thought the story was just kind of by the numbers, and it wasn't really add anything. It was just a little bit subpar.
Mm-hmm. GP.
I actually really like it. I think that it is pretty rich in ideas. That I thought were really cool, even though they are similar ideas to other things. I just like the idea that this town, it's like out in the middle of nowhere in the 60s, you know, like nowadays it wouldn't really play right. But like when you watch Children of the Corn, right, the 80s version, like you're like, this wouldn't really work now because like everything's so interconnected. But you could just kill off a whole town and nobody'd probably notice for a while in the 80s or whatever. And in the 60s, I could see this being a super isolated place, and their entire existence is based on the harvest, right? Like, and there were a lot of places where farms where a bad harvest could literally wipe out the population throughout history, you know what I mean? And I like the idea that there's this almost sacrifice that they must do and perform, this ritualistic sacrifice that they must do and perform, that's kind of hidden away from what's actually going on, and they frame it to look like this life-changing good thing that can happen to you if you win this the run, where it completely not only changes your life, it lets you escape the town, which is holding everybody back, but it also changes your family's life too.
Yeah, it's typical corporate shit, man, because like it's manipulating the system. Mm-hmm. You know, they tease them with, oh, you can win this, you know, $25,000 in a Corvette, and you know, you get to start this whole new life somewhere else and stuff like that. It's just, I get it.
Yeah, and you know, I could see how, you know, because not everybody is in on this. You know what I mean? You pretty much get in on it if you're someone who wins, and then it's like the leaders of the town are pretty much the ones that are in on it.
That's actually one of the problems I have with this movie, because I think you're totally bang on with this one is really rich in ideas, but the problem is for me with this film, and it doesn't always happen with all these type of movies. Like we've talked about this before, where there's some things that don't need to be explained in certain films, and it just works for that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like in this movie, there's certain things that aren't explained that actually hurt the narrative in this film, because it just, once the movie's done, like what happened for me, I was like, oh, that movie was pretty good. And then I started thinking about it. Like a couple hours later, I was out doing errands and stuff, and I was thinking about the movie, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, what the fuck? And like, it started bugging me. I was thinking about the core narrative of it and, what's actually happening. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, it actually doesn't even fucking make any sense, because there had to have been a start to this vicious circle that they're involved in. And like almost like this time continuum, because we have to re-up this every single fucking year, but there had to have been a start to it. And I'm thinking to myself going, well, where's this? Like, this is the type of movie that it needs a prequel. It needs to explain exactly what this curse is and who's the guild and what exactly happened with this monster. Because in theory, the same people that are invested in this town are the same people that are in theory just going to destroy your existence. So if you look at that premise, it's like, what the fuck? But it had to have started somewhere. You know what?
The way that I took it is like that. It's like a cross between like, just think of like in actual history, right? Like there were, sacrifices in history where it kind of doesn't make sense, but there were things that were sacrificed to gods and people and animals and stuff like that. So I just look at it like it was this long history of sacrifice that sort of like
but if you look at it like that, the starting point, it's not like they just sacrificed some person one day, created this monster only to like almost annihilate their existence themselves. It had to have been, because they talk about how the town has a curse on it, and they distinctly say over and over again that if you're born in this town, you cannot physically leave. Like they actually talk about you physically can't leave the town. So like it's like they're stuck in this fucking vortex, in this bubble. So, but they do allow people to come in, because the girl in this film, she distinctly says that she's from out of town, and that's why she's able to leave in the end too. She's the only one that can leave, right? So she's not part of this curse. So like there's a story there. But what the fuck is the curse? Like, because like I said, you have to have started somewhere to start sacrificing your own people, because you're not going to sacrifice something and create this mythological character that's going to be born and annihilate yourselves. Like, it's just, there has to be a start to it. Like, the more I think about it,
the way that I take it is just filling in the blanks here, like what it could be is like, it could be, hundreds of years or whatever of sacrificing people to whatever demon or god or whatever this thing is. And then you stop and don't do it. And then basically it, that's when you find out what happens when you don't do it. And like the way that the way that the person who, well, I don't want to spoil shit,
I know this one's a little bit hard to talk about, because when you sacrifice a person, like, is it an entity that's possessing this thing? Because the person's still that person inside that, like, it's clear as day, right? Like person knows that, right? They know that they're the Sawtooth Jack at this certain point, because there's a scene in this film where it's clear as day, like the person knows what it is and stuff like that, right? Like, it's it is what it is, but like it's
but if you kind of look at it like the Pumpkinhead rules, right? Which is like, okay, it's just like a continuous cycle of, at the end of Pumpkinhead, you see what happens to Ed Harley, and it basically becomes the new Pumpkinhead. You know what I mean? So, and it's kind of, and you don't really know where that started in Pumpkinhead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you kind of just have to take it like that.
Well, the difference between this and Pumpkinhead is that, like, to have the backstory and have the start of this vicious circle is kind of crucial, because like I said, it's their whole existence that is in jeopardy here, and like they're using their own people. Like you kind of,
but you're looking at it like they started this thing.
No, I'm not saying that they did. I know that they didn't start this thing. I know that they're but I want to know how it got started, because otherwise it just seems like like the whole start of it's just missing from the narrative. You know what I mean? Like I understand that they have to sacrifice and they have to do this thing, and there's only certain people that know, because everybody can't know what's going on because they just wouldn't fucking do it, right? Nobody'd want to win the lottery, kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, it doesn't.
I think it's just one of those things where it, like,
yeah, I'm
to have a good harvest, this
really
must happen.
Yeah, that part didn't really bother me. I just kind of looked at it as like, okay, this is this town, this old like standing tradition. But I do think like in a similar way to like where Moodz has an issue with the movie, I feel like it like tried to cloak itself in ambiguity for like so long of the movie that like it got to a point where I was just like uninterested. I was like, all right, where's this going? And I didn't even like care by the time like they got around to saying, well, this is what's going on.
Yeah, I kind of figured.
I was very interested in trying to figure out what was going on.
I think about 30 minutes into the film, I was like, okay, I think I pretty much know where this is going. That didn't hurt. That element didn't hurt. Like going back to like the whole Scream thing, where sometimes predictability can totally hurt a film, because I think but in this one, it didn't really hurt it for me. It was more, I wanted to know more about like who the guild was, and like I wanted to know, there's so many questions I had. I wanted to know what the curse was and why there's a curse, and exactly why this thing is like in this weird time continuum. And there was like, I had so many questions because I was really invested in the film. Like I thought it was really well done, and I liked the aspect of what they were doing. But I don't know, man. It left me with so many questions. It was bugging me.
I think for me, it works because of the history of like harvests and sacrifices and stuff. It just fits to me. It just feels like something that it's like the stuff that people used to believe about, like we must sacrifice blood to make our crops grow and stuff. It's just actualized in this movie. It's the thing that they're sacrificing to is real in this movie, whereas in reality, it was just people's like ideas and imaginations. And I get where you're coming from about how it's a little bit like you have to assume a lot of stuff and like sort of make your own backstory essentially. And I think that it probably could have benefited from the history of it, but at the same time, like the stuff that they tease, like the story that the sheriff tells where he talks about the one fucking time we missed in 9 years or something like that, like so much havoc came from it. I like that idea because it feels like folklorish, like it feels like it feels like what you would think of with like farming, and the whole history of that. And, I think that, and I like the setting in the 60s. I think it feels pretty good. There's actually a lot of like surprises, I would say, that I didn't really expect it to go certain ways, like especially like the very like last scene. I really didn't expect for it to happen like that. I also thought that the dad was a pretty good actor, and like his whole like coming to grips with everything and trying to pretend like everything's okay. I thought the mom did good.
I like the whole. I thought the ending was going to happen because they'd stressed that they can't leave the town anyways and stuff like that. I feel like it was going to be one of those, cabin in the woods moments where he goes to jump the fucking thing and then hits the invisible wall kind of thing. But
I actually was unsure if they actually couldn't leave the town, or it was just like
it's unexplained.
Said that way, but I was almost like hoping that they would have like fell off a cliff driving or something, like, because I just thought it would be like weird, you know what I mean?
Oh, you mean like the whole fucking cemetery man shit?
Yeah, like just the end of like of Earth, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like the Earth's flat type shit. But I think that and the creature itself, it doesn't look amazing or like super cool. I think the body of it looks actually better than like the head. Like, I think that the like skinny, like scarecrow look works, but I just think that the head is so.
Was it like practical basic body with the CG head? Was that?
It felt like it. It felt like there was some practicals in it, but it was a lot CG.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so Dark Harvest is actually all shot in Canada. It's shot in Winnipeg, and I looked it up because when I was watching, I was like, man, this looks like the fucking prairies in Canada, and sure shit, it was. So it makes complete sense because, like, if you know anything about that area, it's just dead flat. There's not even a fucking mountain anywhere, like a hill. It's just you can see for miles and miles and miles. It's crazy. So it was kind of a cool location to do that and shit. So
I think the biggest, the like one of the things that I feel like doesn't really work for it is the fact that this happens every year. Because it's just like, dude, you would barely get time to relax by the time you got to start prepping for the next one.
It's just the questions like I said, so we got our main character here, and like he's totally like that Rage Against the Machine type character, right? He's a greaser, he's an outcast, he's like, fuck the court, like he's all about fuck the rules kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. But he's also not the type of person that is going to just like savagely destroy his surrounding and his where he lives and shit like that. That's why, like, going back to the whole reborn thing and stuff, like it's got to be some type of like Children of the Corn, like what is it? He behind the rose, or what the fuck is it called?
He who walks behind the rose.
He who walks behind the rose. It's kind of like that thing, that going back to the whole like evil entity thing, or is it just like a standard evil thing? Because obviously when this thing comes around next year, he's going like possibly is going to be this thing. I mean, like as a person, he's not the type of person that is going to go and wreak havoc. So he's got to be almost manipulated by this type of evil and stuff like that. But
I think it's like a Pumpkinhead thing, right? Like when it just
So is the evil from the corn? It just comes from behind the rose.
Interesting. Like, so interesting. Did you guys watch the post-credit scene for this one?
Yes.
Okay, because like that kind of like explains it. I thought, like how it gets grunting.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think the thing that was shocking to me is like how violent this fucking thing was, man. I wasn't expecting it to turn like, dude, there's some vicious fucking kills. And it's like the one part where the guy's like, he's like, oh, are you down for this shit tonight? And the guy walks up to him and just chops his fucking head in half.
That was
the purge, man.
That was like a hell of a way for it to come out of the can.
I started laughing when I was watching this movie. I'm like, dude, this movie's it's disguised as a purge movie. It's called Dark Harvest. It's basically a purge movie, man. And just getting annihilated in this. Like, there's some ridiculous
scene where they're in the bunker and the kids outside. That was actually kind of sad.
Explain that shit to me though. Like, why was this bunker like in the middle of just the road?
Because it's the 60s, dog.
What the fuck? This is so random, man. It's like so.
Remember, like in the 50s,
it wasn't even someone's
about
cellar.
Like nuclear fallout, right? Like
right. Oh yeah. right. But it was like right on the side of the road. It was just the craziest thing. I'm like, that's fun.
That was the community bomb shelter.
Yeah,
right.
It probably was, because there was community bomb shelters back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But they touch on a lot of things in this. Like they touch on like, corruption and corporation shit and like racism in this film. And like there's that really great scene where he's like, yeah, so you go into the so-and-so dance night, and she kind of looks at him and kind of like almost rolls her eyes, and he's like, oh yeah, right, because you're black.
You're black. You're not allowed to go.
Yeah. So, but it's like 1963 and the racial tension was fucking real, right? Like but they do downplay. I mean, they don't really go, I mean, the movie's not really about exploiting that and stuff like that, but it's definitely downgraded and stuff. Cause there's a part in the film where he's like, oh, are you making it with that Negro? And I'm like, there's no way they were saying that N word in 1963. They were using the hard N with the hard R.
Exactly.
So they didn't
fine
go
with
that
them
route.
doing that. We get the point.
Yeah,
totally. And I thought about it too, and I was like, you know what? We've had enough of this shit in the past. We don't need to fucking exploit this anymore and stuff. But I'm just saying, if you wanted to be really realistic, nobody was talking like that.
Right. And I think actually, what scene is kind of weird to me? It felt like a little off almost, but I kind of still liked it. Was when the montage of all the kids like locked up in their room for 3 days.
Right.
Where they're like flipping out, like, I need some fucking food.
So that's actually one of the questions I have about the film.
Mm-hmm.
What in the fuck? Why is it like all of a sudden, like on this night, does everyone turn into like a raving fucking zombie and just has like this, like, it's like they're what's up with the eating?
I think they starve them to make that, because it's so important that they kill the fucking thing, that they don't give them any food, so that they fill the thing with candy, so that they actually effort to.
But like, how do you starve people for like 3? Like, it makes that part of it just made no sense to me. I'm like,
maybe they're just trying to make him like angry and get the testosterone pumping. But
I guess so, right?
It's a military tactic, right?
Yeah,
but they were acting like raving zombies.
Dude, I know, it was funny as shit.
One thing that's like a real point though is if you were to like starve them, like they'd be weak and they wouldn't be able to
That's
like run.
exactly what I.
But it's only 3 days though.
I have that written down. I'm like,
3 days.
I'm like, dude, if you were fucking starved for 3 days, like I would have no energy. I'm like, you'd fucking die.
You'd
like,
live, but like you would have no energy to be doing.
Dude,
that.
I've actually not eaten in 3 days, so I can tell
you're insane.
That's,
well,
that's
I was living in a drug house, so there's no food.
Oh man, one thing I did love, man, is that they played the Skyliner song. Since I don't have you, they played that song a few times in the film. I absolutely love that song.
Yeah, the music was really good in the film.
Yeah, Guns N' Roses actually covered that song on the Spaghetti Incident on their cover record in the early 90s.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. But
yeah, but I mean, I'm kind of done on this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit hard. I mean, cut minor spoilers in this one, but this isn't a tough one to talk about without giving too much away, because or else you got really nothing to say about it. But overall, I thought it looked really good. Like it had a great kind of feel to it.
Good look for sure.
Small town, good atmosphere. It was a lot more violent than I was expecting. Bloody. I thought the creature looked okay. Like I'm kind of like iffy on that. It had a good start to it, but yeah, the head was a little bit fucky in that one. And I don't know. I just have so many questions. I just wanted to learn more because I was really invested in it. And I was like, I kind of feel like this is where it's going and stuff. And it kind of went there, but I was like, I still enjoyed the film overall. Like, I mean, I did hear from certain people that this is like one of the best of the year and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't really know if I'm going to go down that road. But they had some cool shout outs and shit like that in the film. Like, they had the Boris Karloff and Vincent Price double bill on the matinee sign and shit like that. That was really cool to see.
Yeah, I remember pausing it and trying to like see the posters in the theater.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they touched on actually the one part in the film when the dude calls the Mexican a beaner. I started laughing. I'm like, JP probably even laughed out loud at that one. I was like, that's fucking just blatant racism right there. It's horrible. But
and they actually did something that I was like wondering too, because I was like, why don't somebody just get a fucking gun? And they did. And I was like, what?
Why didn't we start with this?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it makes complete sense.
Tyler, rating.
Overall, I think this one's pretty average. I'm gonna give it a 5.
Or wait, I'm supposed to go next, right?
Yeah, it was you.
Oh, I fucked that up. Sorry. He gave it a 5. I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10.
7.5. Another part in the film that made me laugh. Actually, speaking of the Mexican guy, there's a part in the film where he goes running home and he's just like crying and crying and crying, trying to get in the house and stuff like that. I'm like, that was totally JP during this purge.
Dude, that part was like sad, man.
Dude, and then he gets
His
fucking
mom
annihilated.
like rejected him. She's like, make us proud, and I'm like, oh, dude.
Because everyone was capitalist, man. They
like,
wanted
please, mommy, I'm scared.
It's just like a take on hardcore capitalism, like willing to like almost sacrifice. Well, I mean, I guess certain people didn't know and stuff like that, but I mean, it was to the point where it was like certain people were willing to sacrifice their own just to get ahead and stuff. I'm like, man, that's capitalism at its lowest form right there. But anyways,
but it's not just to get ahead though. It is also to like survive.
Yeah, but sacrificing, like you,
I mean,
if you willingly knew that this is not, they're not going to a better place. Like, it's pretty
no, I get the sense that most people in the town do not know about that.
Yeah,
I'm saying most people didn't. It was like the guild. There were certain people that knew what was going on and stuff, and obviously the cop was part of it. Like, and
I felt like his parents didn't know until his brother won.
Yeah, they don't exactly. Right.
It reminded me of like parents who would send their kids to war type.
But that's why they went out of their way to like tell them, you don't fucking do this shit. Right. Like you don't want to, got nothing.
Yeah, it made sense.
You got nothing to prove here. Your brother won it. Like you can't win this shit twice. Like, blah, blah, blah and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm going to come in at a 7 out of 10 on this one.
Cool.
Yeah. So. All right, so that is Dark Harvest from 2023.
Hate time travel movies. They never make any sense.
All right, so getting into the third and final film here. From 2023, we have Totally Killer. All right, so quick little synopsis. When the infamous Sweet 16 killer returns 35 years after the first murder spree to claim another victim, 17-year-old Jamie accidentally travels back in time to 1987, determined to stop the killer before he can start. Yes, so like we mentioned before, this is a Blumhouse film, and it's like if you take a fucking slasher film and mix it up with Back to the Future, that's pretty much what you got here. Yeah, pretty interesting mashup. I mean, that's two reasons why I thought this movie was pretty decent, because I like slasher films, and I'm a huge time travel fan. Back to the Future is like my favorite trilogy of all time. They even actually mentioned Back to the Future a couple times in this film, which is kind of cool. But why not put the two together? Time travel and slashers? Come on, man. Yeah.
And I also will say, like, the comedy aspects actually like fucking worked for me. At first, I thought it was going to be like this woke shit that was going to get on my nerves, but it actually almost makes fun of modern day and how people are by comparing it to how people were in like the 80s, right?
It's
like,
exactly what it's doing.
I was so confused what it's even doing, because like that was kind of like my main complaint about it. It's like, I don't even know if it's like trying to be woke or it's trying to like just make fun of all these old tropes. But like, I'm so sick of this trope.
I feel like it's almost making fun of the modern trope.
I feel like it was half and half.
I think it's making light of it. I mean, it's taking kids from this generation and what they've grown to know, which is today's woke society and stuff like that, and a little bit poking fun at it and stuff like that, because she kind of does it over the top when she goes back in the 80s. She's like,
yeah, it's so over the top that like it can't.
But I think it's done on purpose. I don't think that they flooded. I don't think they flooded the screen with just overdoing it. I think it was done on purpose. Like the scene where, right away when she gets in the car with that mother who's smoking in the vehicle with her kids with the windows up and shit, and like, this is the 80s, kind of thing.
Dude.
Like, it's just right away. It's like it's making fun of how ridiculous that time period was, right? Yeah. And just how fucking mean her mom was and stuff, and just the way people talk to each other, and just how everything just kind of went and stuff. I mean, it continuously happens throughout the film, but it is poking fun of like, that time period, and also making light of how people are in today's world, because people let every time you're doing something that's not politically correct, right?
Well, yeah, and even just like how, like, whenever she's like, yeah, I just transferred here or whatever, and the teacher's just like, okay, and just gave her the shit. She's like, she's expecting to have to like come up with a huge elaborate thing. Yeah. When like in the 80s, people just don't give a fuck. It's like, okay, you're a kid, you're in school, what the fuck? There's no big deal.
Yeah, you know exactly. What I mean? When she's talking to the guy at the ride and stuff, and he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna go on my break, and he's like, yeah, she just totally left. Yeah, just left me here to do whatever.
There was another part too where she goes to ask what class someone's in, and she's like, plans to make this big. You could tell she's like knows from in modern time.
Third period P.
Really like push it, and like the secretary just don't give a fuck. She just flips everything.
Like literally third period GP or P, and she's like, okay. Like, what the fuck?
But it was more simple like back then. You know what I mean? Like nobody like. It's the classic thing where you say like people in your neighborhood like didn't even lock their doors. You know what I mean? Like you could just walk in someone's house like screen door.
It did make me laugh that she was an exchange student from Canada, from Prince Edward Island. I was like, that's fucking hilarious.
That is funny.
But it's actually funny. This movie was fully shot.
The cops like sounds made up.
Yeah, it sounds made up. This movie was actually completely.
The cops made me laugh. I like the cops a lot. They were funny.
Yeah. This movie was completely shot just down the road from where I used to live, actually. And I used to live in Vancouver, in Burnaby, and it's shot at the Bridge Studios, like the whole film. I was like, that's crazy. So anyways, I just live right down the road from it. It's fucking awesome. But another Canadian shot film. But so what are your guys' overall thoughts on the film? I was pleasantly surprised actually how well so this movie runs about 146, and you're looking at the runtime going, okay. But it's hard to make a short time travel movie, because you have to balance it out, right? You have the time travel stuff and you got the present stuff and you have to make it work. So everything does seem a little bit longer. This is the second time I've watched it in 2 weeks because I actually watched it a couple of weeks ago and I wanted to rewatch it, of course, for the show and stuff. It flies by for me, man. I think the time travel stuff is really good. They make light of it and stuff. I really like honestly the dialogue in this film. I think it's that perfect blend of like realistic and kind of reality, and it's toned down to the point where it's like you said before, it's almost making fun of like, or making light of what's going on here and there and stuff.
Yeah,
I just really like the balance that's in this. It has a really nice flow to it. I think they didn't try too hard with a lot of the jokes and stuff, and like she says things and you're just like, okay. But I really like the conversation about, she's like, you don't seem too uneasy about me showing up, about this whole time travel. And she's like, well, if you invent time travel, you got to expect someone's going to come back from the future. So,
right. Yeah. There's actually some clever aspects to the whole time travel thing. Cause really? I mean, I love time travel too, Moodz, but I mean, Back to the Future trilogy is like one of my favorite things ever. Mm-hmm. And I thought that the one thing that I actually like that they did in this movie is every time travel movie, and I mean all of them, they make such a big deal about the butterfly effect and like changing one thing, where in this movie, they're just kind of like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, I might have just fucked up my parents' relationship.
I think that's one of the most clever things that they did in this movie, because they do bring up Back to the Future, and like the cops, and he's like, yeah, no, I haven't seen Back to the Future. And he's like, yeah, you should probably see that one kind of thing. But
yeah,
but when she asks her friend's mom, which is the kid the same age, whatever, she's like, well, what happens if, I don't change or whatever, like if her parents don't get together?
And is she like going to disappear? And she's like, no, you'll still go back, but you just won't have any mom.
They totally explain it. She literally says, she goes, no, that's one thing that Back to the Future got wrong. See, what happens is you won't just disappear. This isn't magic. You won't just disappear. You'll go back to your present time, but you won't have a life to go back to because you were never made. Nobody will know who you are. And I'm like, oh, that makes complete fucking sense.
Yeah, I like how they did that. I was like, oh, that's different. I like it.
It made complete sense. And I was like, oh my God, they explained away something that was so confusing for so many, and like in like 2 seconds. I was like, oh yeah, that completely makes fucking sense, man.
And I thought her mom was like really fucking funny. It was kind of like Back to the Future where Marty like is like surprised at how his mom's acting, but yeah, it's like it's even more in this one where she's like, yeah, and she keeps like her mom is like fucking about to fuck this dude, you know what I mean?
Right.
Her future dad or whatever, but it's like way too early, and she's just like, you're too horny. Like it actually made me laugh a few times.
I like the part when she's like, man, I'm not really changing anything except for the order they're being killed in. I like that part too. It's fucking hilarious.
And another thing, I actually didn't see any of the reveals or like the end. Like I didn't predict anything.
Well, the killer, like the first killer, I was like, what the fuck? I'm like,
yeah, I didn't predict any of it.
But I like how they explain why that person was doing the killing. And I was like, oh my God. And then the breakdown of it was like ridiculous, because they kept referring to the one girl as like fat whoever.
Fat Trish.
Fat Trish. That's such an 80s name.
I'm like, and I like when she turns her and she goes, you can't keep calling her Fat Trish. She's like, duh, she's dead.
Yeah, right. Like I love that part where like nobody understands why you can't do something. Like you can't say like when she's like what, did you just want to les out all weekend? Like like it's just funny because like people just didn't care, right? Like there was no, like you didn't have to watch what you said.
There was no filters. There was literally no filters. And she's like, no, I was
saying like, what would be wrong with that?
And then she quickly like replies. She's like, no, not the not the homophobic thing. Blah blah. I'm just like, God.
She's like, that's not gross. Like the gay, like being gay is not gross. It's just like the homophobia. Like,
yeah, dude. I think one of the fucking funniest parts in the movie, though, man, is when the dude knocks her over and fucking belches in her face, and it goes on for like 10 seconds, dude. I'm just like, oh my God, man, that's so gross.
I think I nailed what I like about the way they handle the woke stuff versus like the traditional stuff is they're not saying either one is wrong to be more conscious or to be more free. And that's what I like about it. It's what's that?
I didn't feel like that at all.
What?
Like I'm agreeing with you. I mean,
oh, you are agreeing with me?
Yeah. I'm agreeing with you.
I feel like it's telling you that, it was different times.
Yeah, it's like this was different, and like and it's just how things were.
Just because
and, like,
this is how it was in 1980 doesn't make it completely. I mean, when you look back, you're like, well, that's a little bit silly, but it doesn't make it necessarily wrong. It's just the way things were. But it's totally shedding light on that, like how people are today. Like, you know, people are a little bit more respectful of people and things like that. Like they shed light on that, and that's just.
But it even just shows how conditioned she is to like watch how important it is, and how much of a regular part of your life it is to like be that way. Right. And that showcases with the time traveler, right? Because it's so ingrained in like how society is that it's constantly part of what she's thinking whenever she's interacting with these people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, dude, her mom as a teenager was the funniest shit though, man. She was
I loved her.
Fucking
she was
rude.
It was so great. The way she talks to her mom, and you know, and just like, and I love like with time travel stuff too, like knowing like, okay, well, this person has a bad relationship with their mom, and then you kind of see why, you know what I mean, and then you see how that changes when things change, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's cool. And honestly, dude, this movie completely won me over. Like I was kind of rolling my eyes at it right at the beginning because it just felt like another like teen, like Happy Death Day, freaky, like just like another one, you know what I mean? And I was just like, we're doing this again. And then like it started getting really funny to me, and I was like, and then the time travel stuff was actually cool, and I was like, and the stabbings are pretty brutal too.
Yeah, man. Like 60.
The kills are pretty good.
Dude, I kept laughing about the blowjob shit, man. She's like, I don't get blowjobs. You pee out of that thing. I was like, what the? Dude, I like the part when
and the funny part was like, maybe if she had given blowjobs, she'd still be alive. And she's like, I don't think that's the lesson we should take from this.
Yeah, dude, I laughed so fucking hard at that, man. Actually, you know, I actually enjoyed this movie more the second time I watched it. I really enjoyed it the first time, but watching it again, I was like, man, it still works. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, because you watched it twice. That's right.
Yeah, the dialogue is great in this, man. Like the lead character, she's really good. She's really good with her delivery in this, man. She doesn't overdo anything. I think it's perfectly done. It's really good. And I thought like the reveal was really interesting, and then what happens after the reveal was really interesting too. And I like the whole fact of like the Killer Instinct lead singer and and that was the other thing I really liked about this film too, was the fact that when things were being altered in the past, it was changing the future as it was still progressing. And the way they explain how time travel is with the river metaphor was actually it was so well done and so easy to understand that it just made everything work so well. Right. Mm-hmm. And then so once they explain that away and then shit's changing in the future and stuff like that, I'm like, okay. But man, dude, like when the Killer Instinct poster got changed to like that, like fucking religious thing, I started thinking of South Park, man, like the religious. Oh my God, dude. I was pissing myself, man. It's so funny. This was fucking hilarious, man.
Yeah, dude.
Good. But like what happens after the reveal is just batshit, dude. It's fucking batshit, man. I was like, this is nuts.
So I get the sense that you didn't really care for this movie too much, Tyler.
No, I'm okay with this movie.
So
I think for the most, I'm kind of mixed on it, but I enjoyed it. But like I enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed the story and the characters for the most part. Like I was invested enough in it. I think overall there's like some issues. Maybe I was being a little cranky about the whole like old time so bad, like everyone's so sensitive now thing. I think it's just like a trope like we're seeing more now that I'm just getting a little sick of. That's maybe more of a me thing combined with the whole just like I feel like there's like been like now like a long running wave of like Stranger Things inspired like retro worlds. And I think I'm just like definitely. That's enough. Like, and I think these things combined together, I'm just a little bit tired on. But like as far as like the story, what I thought it was like an interesting idea. I enjoyed it enough. I like the characters enough. It's like I wasn't bored watching or anything. The runtime is definitely not any of the issues I had with this. Some of the knocks on it, just kind of like I guess we'll go through with the time travel. Like, if she's like going back and talking to her mom in the 80s, and there's these pictures of her from the 80s, but she doesn't recognize her daughter like as an adult. I thought that didn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's like every
Yeah, so it's like, there's just like
even
a
with Back to
couple
the
little...
Future, you're like, how would you not remember Calvin
Yeah,
Klein
so there's like a couple, in like,
spending the night in
they
your
like,
room?
in like, there's like, I don't want to like spoil, but there's no spoil like anything about it. But there's like other things like in kind of in line with that, where I'm kind of just like, that kind of doesn't.
There's always those little things in time travel that are problematic, but I mean, it just little things like that don't really bother me, man.
It's such a fun concept that it's worth like sacrificing that little bit of logic, right?
It's like when we talk about Italian films and nightmare logic, it's like we just chalk it up to nightmare logic and you just leave it at that. You know, I think one thing that this movie really did well was the casting of the younger versions was so fucking spot on, man. Yeah. It's almost freaky how well they did it. Like all these guys, they were like perfect fucking, they were like literally the teenage versions of it was crazy. I thought it was really well done, man. Really well. Actually, one part of this film.
One of my favorite parts.
The black dude was.
I love the cop so much. The cop was my favorite.
The black dude was my favorite. Like he's like, I drive better when I'm drunk.
Oh, dude, that's the most 80s thing ever.
And she's like, no, you don't. I can guarantee it. And then later in the movie, he's like, I'm already too deep, boys, and I drove fucking amazing or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like we made everything a dick joke.
Oh, dude, this guy's honking his fucking balls all movie, man. You know what? One of the funniest things to me is, man, is when she hands the cop the fucking bag with the killer's blood on it.
That's what I was gonna say. I love
it's like DNA,
dude.
And he's like,
I'll just plug it into the worldwide DNA system. We're solving crimes here. Oh my god, dude! But the funniest part about the whole scene is when he throws it on the ground. He throws it with his like left arm, and it looks so goofy.
He just throws it.
Threw it away. I was fucking rolling. The first time I watched this,
that was
I was
my favorite
kissing
part.
myself.
He just started laughing, and he just like throws it on the ground and just keeps talking.
Oh man, it was so good, man. Man, I gotta say, man, the fucking Lurch, man, he had a lot of fucking Nintendo cartridges in his van. That was crazy to see. Like 1987, you had that many games. I was like, damn, dude, you'd be rolling in money because them shits weren't cheap. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like the expensiveness of video games is always just like scaled like over time.
Yeah.
So like even at like what are they now, like $60 or something?
70.
Buck, like 75 bucks
so like
when they
70,
came out.
Yeah. So like 20 years ago, like when they were $50, like that definitely felt like $70 now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but then again, like some consoles, like what console was that? Was it the Saturn? That was like $600 back in the 90s, and it's like, dude, that's like insane. That's a lot.
Yeah,
now.
that's like nobody had that. Nobody had those. That's why.
I think I do. I think I have that, and it was a very short-lived system, right?
Yeah, it didn't.
It was like I don't think it was that expensive though, because it was like not an impressive system. That was the first video game system I ever had. And my parents got me thinking it was going to be big, and then like within like a year or two, they're like, "Yeah, we're not making games for this anymore."
You know what always bugs me, man? In movies, like, okay, so you know the scene where the chick gets fucking stabbed up on the waterbed and it's like spraying out, like it's all fucking like pressurized and shit. Man, I used to have a waterbed in high school, and I popped my bed twice. And I'll tell you one thing: the water doesn't spray out like that, man. It does not spray out like that. It's not even a knock on it.
It depends how big you pop it too, though. Kind of.
I would think it would just kind of like pour out and collapse, right?
Yeah, it just kind of leaks out and shit like that. You would have to have your bed so full. It just doesn't do that.
I had a waterbed too.
I missed that bed, man. I loved it.
They were so interesting. Like if you didn't have it, like they could get like really fucking cold or really fucking hot. It was like messing with the temperature was always interesting.
Yeah, I always had mine good, man. Like, yeah, I always loved it, man. Yeah. I like how they were ripping
Dude, that
apart.
is something that is completely gone.
Yeah, man. Like 100%. Like you can't even. I haven't seen a waterbed in probably 20 years.
I don't think I've ever been on a waterbed. I've seen maybe like 2 in my life.
Yeah, they were.
I knew this girl who had one when I was in high school.
Yeah,
but I had one growing up, and it's so it's like I haven't been on one of those in 20 fucking years or something. Well, I guess since high school, but
I actually moved when I first moved to Vancouver. I actually had my waterbed in my place. It was cool. I like how they make fun of fucking TikTok on here too, man. It's like, do the machines destroy the world? No, it's more the dancers on fucking TikTok polluted the minds of the generation. I'm like, yep. Fuck, I call it tick tick because it's just ticking away your fucking life.
But that's why. I mean, TikTok works for that too.
Dude, TikTok's been telling my girlfriend to watch some insane movies.
Yeah, man. I like all the bootleg versions of her tape, like reanimator.
Sometimes I'll show her like some stuff, like, and like she'll go and like look up TikTok videos. So like her algorithm has like a bunch of like kind of like pretentious film critique like recommendations. And like earlier this week, it told her to watch Valerie and Her Week of Wonders. And she actually watched it.
Wow, crazy. JP doesn't like that movie.
No, I don't.
I love that movie.
I really like that movie too. He doesn't like The Cremator either, and I think that's another really good movie
The Cremator, like, might actually be my favorite horror movie now.
It's like not even a fucking horror movie for
me. Yeah,
it's a good movie.
It's labeled as it, but I don't know if I would just call it a horror movie. I'd feel weird like saying like that's my favorite.
Man, I don't feel like watching any of those fucking.
So are we going to win any Posy awards? Like when he says, I've won like so many Posy awards. She's like, that's not the same thing as a Pulitzer. Fucking hilarious, man. Man, this movie is actually really funny. Like, there's a lot of good shit.
Dude, I was watching it last night and it completely like won me over. I was just like, this is. I'm actually like greatly enjoying. It was like honestly. It was one of the better experiences I've had all year with movie watching, just because I was like, really,
I mentioned this last show.
I said, it was funny.
I mentioned this last show. This is one of the very few films that I actually like really enjoyed this year. I didn't want to go too deep into it. I'd like persuade you and blah, blah, blah. Like I said, I liked it kind of thing. Right.
Right.
But I honestly didn't think that you were, I thought I'd be higher on this. Well, I don't know what your rating is or whatever, but I wasn't sure how you're going to feel about this one. So.
I honestly thought, like, just from the cover and like what I had, like the brief stuff I had heard about it, I thought it was just gonna. I thought I was gonna be like, you know, just I thought it would be like maybe okay or something, but it surprised me.
Well, before I knew that it was a time travel slasher film, the title totally killed her. I was like, man, that's fucking lame. But then the title
it just reminded me of like Blumhouse with like. Just the type of movie, like I said, Happy Death Day 2, fucking Freaky. Like it just, I thought it was just going to be something like that, and it kind of is, honestly. But it's just like more fun than Happy Death Day was.
Oh, big time, man! This one's entertaining, man. It's got so many funny characters in it, man, and it's got great dialogue. It's just got a lot of good.
Doesn't it feel like it should have been theatrical?
Yeah, it kind of does.
I love the red. I was
surprised that it was Blumhouse when like the credits came on.
I don't know if you guys caught that, but when the one dude says, you know, oh yeah, when you kill these people, they explode into like, you know, like a red mist.
Like a pink mist, yeah.
And then that shit. Oh my god, dude, I fucking laughed out loud.
Pink mist.
Dude, I laughed so hard when she fucking shows up at the school and it's like the Vernon Red Devils, and she's like, "Yep, and there's the blatant racism right there."
Dude, I thought that was so fucking funny, dude.
I was like, "Oh my god, that's so bad." Yeah, it's good shit. But I gotta admit, though,
Red Devils.
one of the funniest things, as soon as she gets to the gym class, I started laughing before the scene even happened. I was like, they did it, because they literally banned dodgeball like in schools because it was just so violent and stuff like that, right? Like you can't play dodgeball like after like the 90s. Like it's been banned forever.
We had it.
I only played as a little kid.
Did you? Yeah,
we had.
So like when I was a kid, I was the asshole that would totally headhunt on purpose. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I hit you right in the face. But people would be down, look over the teacher, and I would whip balls at people that were out and shit. Like I was such an asshole playing dodgeball. But I love the scene when they're getting nailed and spit's coming out their mouth, and it's just violence as shit. And like I'm like, it was totally over embellished, but at the same time, it's exactly what it was like, man. People,
but everybody took dodgeball so seriously when I was in high school, dude. Like it was like you took that shit seriously. Like you wanted to fucking win. Man.
It was survival of the fittest.
And dude, and the teacher was
like,
totally...
you always went after the fucking nerds who didn't want to play, or like the chubby girl or something.
Every time, man, you would just pick on the ones that couldn't move, and plus the bigger people were easier targets because they're harder to miss.
That was me.
But honestly, dude, the teacher was cast perfect because like when she's mocking her and shit, I'm like, everybody had a PE teacher that was just like that, right? Like I had a PE teacher. And I think it was in grade 10. He used to play in the CFL. So he was like a fucking ex-football player. Dude, and we would play contact everything. And if you didn't get hit hard enough, he would make you get hit harder after. Like it was fucked up. It was fucked. We played full contact soccer. He's like, soccer's a pussy sport. We're playing full contact. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is fucked up, man. Oh, dude, he was the most brutal teacher ever, man. But like, that's, that was back in the day.
Dude, gym teachers were like that. I had a gym teacher named Mr. Spinetti. He was like an accomplished wrestler. I remember, I think he beat Kurt Angle in a match before or something, which is his claim to fame. But he was the type of guy where we'd literally go up to him and be like, I want to go, I'm gonna fight Michael. He's like something, and he's like, all right, we'll do it behind the building where nobody could see. Like, literally, those are actual words that he would say.
Yeah, Mr. Karpinko, that was his name was. I think he played for the Bombers with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Yeah, it's fucking that guy was just vicious, man. Oh God.
And I like how the mom is just like calls her a bitch and stuff. It's just funny as shit.
Yeah. Don't let anybody know that I'm a sci-fi. That's so funny. I love that when they're like panning through all of her tapes and shit, and she's got like Reanimator and like all these fucking cool ass movies and shit.
Cool. It's like scoping out all the titles.
Yeah. Like every movie was like classic, but they were like just all new at the time. It's pretty funny. Yeah. Yeah.
Funny movie.
Good movie, man. Really, really good stuff. Radio, I guess I go first?
Yeah, you're first.
All right. So yeah, this is actually one of my favorites of the year, man. After 2 watches, it still works. And I hope that this one comes out on physical because it'll be a purchase for me. Yeah, it's weird, right? This was like an Amazon Prime exclusive. Like it feels like it should have been theatrical. This would have been great to see at the cinema. It would have been awesome.
Yeah, it does. It feels like it was big enough to be.
I kind of like assumed that it did a theatrical run, like a brief one, and I just like missed it.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it did. I think it was specifically.
I think you must
Amazon.
have been. I just assumed that was what.
This is just
kind of like the like last Demeter movie that like played for like a week.
Yeah, we didn't even get it. I was pissed about it because I really wanted to see it, and I actually still haven't even watched it yet. But I heard it was just okay, though.
Yeah, I heard it had a problem. It's like you can't really build tension like when you're like making a remake of a part in a movie that everybody's already seen.
Yeah, right.
And that didn't need to be 2 hours long. Those are the main complaints.
Yeah, that's a tough one, right? Totally. The killer can't be killed. He's Michael fucking Myers. To quote the film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they bring up, there's a lot of references to other films and shit in here. It's pretty cool. I always like that shit, man. I know some people get tired of it, but I always find it fun. Anyways, totally killer. One of my favorites of the year. I'm coming in at a 9 on this one. Good film.
Yeah, I'm a little bit under you. Wait, it's Tyler.
Yeah.
Okay. you can
fucking it all up tonight.
All right. Well, after discussing about it, I'm discussing it a little. I think I'm going to come up a bit from where I was on it. I can't say I didn't. I can't say I didn't enjoy it or I was investing or I was bored or anything negative about it like that. I do think there was some parts that were kind of sloppy and some stuff I don't exactly buy. But overall, I think it's completely fine. It's a pretty good movie. Everyone should probably watch it if you're trying to log all the best 2023 movies. And I'm going to come in at a 6.5 on it.
All right. Yeah. I think sometimes with movies like this, that when you get to talk about it and two people sort of like are going off on like all the stuff they like, it almost makes you want to like it more because you're like, oh yeah,
a lot of the things like you were saying too, like I agree with.
Yeah. But sometimes you just don't put it in your own thoughts until you hear somebody else say it. I do that all the time. Like I've been talked down movies, up movies. Like I remember one time with me and Moodz were reviewing Texas Chainsaw 3D. And I think Jeremy was there too. And I came in like with a like happy rating, and I was like, I like this movie. And like just at one point, I was like, you know what, you're right. This is all dumb. Like I'm lowering my rating. It like happened in real time where I went from liking the movie to just being like, wow, you're fucking.
No, I think it was one of the Chainsaw movies because I brought up something and then
it was Chainsaw 3D.
Yeah, and I was talking about something. You're like, oh yeah, totally. That's fucking stupid. You're right. And then you're like, yeah, fuck this already.
Yeah,
change your shit. Like I wasn't even trying to convince him. I just said something that he was like, oh
because
shit.
You just were pointing out more things than I initially thought there were, and I was just like, after you hear it all at once, you're like, yeah, what the fuck? Why am I like liking this so much?
Yeah.
But yeah, totally killer. I'm coming in at 8.5 out of 10, just a little under Moodz. I think that I actually came up a half point during this review. I was at 8 whenever I finished last night, and after talking about it, I came up a half point.
Sweet. Yeah, so that's totally killer from 2023. Yeah, definitely one of the better films from this year that I've seen so far.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll tell you right now that it's like this is what I was kind of looking for and said that we were missing all year was like the direct, like the VOD stuff that is actually like good that you hear people talk about and then you watch it and you're like, oh yeah, that was good. I feel like we haven't had much of that this year.
No, it's been, yeah, I'm up to, what have I watched? 33 movies. And
I think I'm at about like 45 maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, there's still
at like 40 for 2023 total.
I just watched a few more. I watched I think last weekend, so I think the last one I'd watched was VHS 85, but I watched the Dr. Death movie, which I thought was it's fucking full moon, man. I had fun with it. It's short, it's like an hour long, but I was just shocked that they made a Dr. Death movie because he was like in one of the old Puppet Master movies. I think, which one was he in? Like Retro or something like that? Like one of the really terrible ones?
Was he?
I don't know. Yeah, it was like a brief. It wasn't even like a main.
Shit, I thought he was like a new guy. Like from
I think he was. He made an appearance in one of the older, and then that was it. Like he was just in one of them or something like that. It's so weird. Like I don't know, man. Then I watched that Night of the Hunted. It was on Shudder about the girl that gets. There's basically a sniper on this big billboard, and she's trapped in like a gas station and shit. It was all right. Did anybody watch The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster?
Yeah, I watched it months ago.
What did you think of it?
Thought it was all right.
Yeah, it's an interesting kind of urban take on Frankenstein. Yeah.
I know Brandon liked it.
I thought it was okay. It was definitely kind of what I expected from it. It was decent.
Did you watch that the French one, The Tower or whatever?
No, I think I might actually watch it tonight.
Ooh,
it's just
a French one?
I heard
Brandon said it was depressing, I think, right?
Ooh, that sounds good.
It had a cool premise. It's something about people holed up in like a high riser and there's like a fog that comes in or some shit. I'm like, ooh, that sounds right. Wild.
That does sound like something cool. I would like.
Yeah.
But I'm trying not to get too hype. Yeah, I'm trying not to get too hype for it.
And it's friends at the Tower, Guillaume Niclao. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to, after ripping on Shudder last week, and I was trying to kind of redeem it a little bit. So I was watching a bunch of Shudder movies, and I watched Puppet Man. It was okay. Bad Things was the worst movie of the year I've seen so far. Do not watch Bad Things. That movie sucked. Oh, it was fucking horrible. Even Brandon said it was the worst one he's seen all year. I was like, that's crazy. Because right when I was like, this is definitely the worst thing I've seen all year. It's fucking terrible. Yeah, and then of course Dark Harvest and shit. So yeah, up to 33. I haven't watched too many shit bombs. That's definitely the shit turd of the shit turd. Fuck.
Don't watch the movie Fear. That's for damn.
I haven't even seen that one anywhere. I don't even know what the fuck that is, but yeah.
I watched it in fucking the theater at the beginning of the year, like January or something. Yeah. And I almost walked out. I was so fucking.
Wow, man. Walking out. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I've only almost walked out of I've never walked out of a movie, but the closest I was like Slender Man and then this.
Yeah, I've never walked out.
I don't have it in me to walk out of a movie.
Oh yeah. So when Evil Lurks just got on Shudder, and I heard that one's really good. So, have you guys seen it yet?
No.
I heard this.
I haven't seen.
Everyone's been telling me to watch it because I don't know. I think it had a theatrical or whatever, and everyone was saying to fucking definitely check that one out. I usually
kind of like see a lot of them the last 2 months of the year, and just kind of like let things rise to the top.
Did anybody watch Brooklyn 45? Is it worth watching?
No, I didn't watch that. And I wasn't really interested in it though.
Yeah, no, it's I don't know. Yeah, I think Lockdown.
Does Beau Was Afraid count as a horror movie?
The fuck? Why let's not go in there?
No, I don't think so.
Anyways, yeah, so I got a couple here to watch. That was weird. Didn't go. Fucking Shudder always fucks up when you add things to your list. Sometimes the movies don't go in. Fucking Shudder. Okay. Anyways, yeah, so that's gonna conclude episode 242, Halloween special. Thank you, Mr. Saucedo, for coming back and joining us.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, it was a fun show. Yeah, and you know, all the movies were fucking decent this week. You know, generally when we do like kind of these modern things, there's always one that sucks, but I thought everything was pretty decent. worth watching. So good stuff. And so I guess we will be back next week with week 1 of Italian Horror Month, which for a refresher is going to be, what is week 1? Fuck, I can't remember. Luigi Bazzoni with The Fifth Chord, Footprints on the Moon, and The Possessed. That's going to be a good show, man. Because Fifth Chord and Possessed are great movies, and I heard Footprints is just bizarre.
I'm in the same boat as you. I think those other two are both good, and I haven't seen Footprints, but I'm definitely interested because I like both of the other two.
Yeah. So really interesting. I think The Possessed is so underrated. Like, I never hear people talk about that movie. It's crazy. But
this will be my second watch of both those movies, so I'm definitely interested. Definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah. Alrighty. All right, so we are going to get up out of here, and we'll check you guys next week. Deuces.
That's all, folks.